Hey, let's start the show.
It's November 8th, 2012. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Joining me today, Gary Whitta. How you doing, Gary?
I'm great, thank you.
We're mixing things up today. We're going counterclockwise instead of clockwise around the table. You're looking chipper this morning.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's been a good week.
Okay, good talking to you. Norman Chan, also here, as always.
Doing all right. Gary, I did not realize that was a new shirt, but it is a new shirt because it is a World Series.
We don't talk about shirts anymore.
It's a World Series 2012
San Francisco Giants 2012
And I
World
like it.
Series
I like that
champions
shirt.
of
So when you
baseball.
want to talk
Color.
about shirts, it's okay. But if I want to talk about shirts, then I get booed down.
Well, but
because
this
it's
is a special special occasion.
This is only once every 2 years.
Yeah,
Oh, you're going to get in trouble for that one.
that's right. Yeah. Is it too early to talk about Legacy Dynasty? Do you think?
Yes.
Dynasties always be.
When can you start talking about Dynasty?
With every win. Every time a team, every year you can start with Dynasty because the Dynasty always begins with the first win.
Does it now? When they talk about dynasty, so for example, the Chicago Bulls, that was a dynasty, right?
Yeah,
we all get that. Does it have to be the same team, or does it just matter if they keep changing the players up, as long as the team keeps winning?
I kind of feel like it's the coaching staff.
It's the coaching staff.
Yeah.
It's the
Because
management
when I
staff.
think of dynasty for the Chicago Bulls, you can say that because like Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, right? I get it. It was
That's like a
those
dream
guys.
team.
Yeah.
I get
players.
it, but if it's like, but the Giants team that won the World Series this year was very different from the team that won it 2 years ago.
Maybe like
right?
a 30% overlap.
Yeah.
A lot of players, after the World Series, they're the heroes, like Cody Ross,
Yeah.
no longer with the Giants.
Right. Free agents.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. So I don't know if you can say dynasty if it's kind of the players mix up. I think as long as the franchise, the team keeps winning, then it's all good. Right?
I mean, if you look at the Bulls, though, that dynasty, the glue for that was Michael Jordan and oh god, I knew it 2 seconds ago. I don't remember now. Who was the coach?
Phil Jackson.
Phil
right?
Jackson. Yeah. I mean, those, and Scottie Pippen, of course,
And Rodman and all those guys.
Here's the thing: had Scottie Pippen been on a team that didn't have Michael Jordan, he would have been the star of the team, right?
Right.
And Rodman.
It was like the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees are great, but they haven't won a World Series in many years. But they still have by far and away most World Series wins.
And they
than any
spend
team
more
in
money on baseball
So
than
like,
anybody
is
else.
it so? In order for you to start legitimately, and I'm not for a minute suggesting to the Giants legitimately because 2 wins is. I think you need more than that. But so the question is like, how many championships do you need to put together in a certain number of years before you can start?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. Do you
I think
think?
3 and
I think
5 is definitely a dynasty.
I think it's.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
I think it's more than 40%. Like if you're looking at a decade, like
2
if you
and
look
3.
at the 49ers,
The Niners
the
were a
49ers
dynasty.
in the 90s were under Steve Young
Early
and Joe
90s,
Montana
yeah.
were a dynasty.
Yeah, for sure.
The
But
Patriots,
football is very different from baseball in that football you do rely not only on the coach but also the quarterback. The quarterback is so important for football.
and the players have kind of a shorter lifespan, and not lifespan, but like career in football. It depends on the position you play, but a lot of like the linemen play a lot less.
By the way,
fewer
it's
years.
kind of sad, but Dynasty is such a great example of one of the many ways in which I've completely just given up my Britishness.
Why?
I should be saying Dynasty.
Really?
That's the way we pronounce it.
wow.
And I know that because we had that TV show.
really.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the Jackie
I
Collins
was
show.
hoping
We
that
had
you would
we
bring up
had
the
we
TV
had
show.
Dallas and we had Dynasty and you were either a Dallas or a Dynasty and we also pronounced it Dallas.
No,
not
Dallas
really. No, not
and
really.
Dynasty.
Well,
But
Tonight.
English people do say things like Las Vegas
yeah, I've heard that.
and they
before.
say Los Angeles.
Oh.
And they
Wait,
say
that's
annoying-
very British though, because it's an American who makes the A's, who stretches out the A's.
Yeah,
Like,
it's strange the way things work out.
yeah.
But no, in England in the 80s when those soap operas were really, because they were hugely popular
Yeah.
in the UK, like the Who Shot JR, when that was happening, that was a news event that those tapes were being flown over in like on a secure airplane and stuff because.
Oh, so you could air it at the same
this
time?
is before
Yeah.
the internet and YouTube where you just knew this.
Before
you knew
satellite
shit
technology?
instantly. Yeah.
So, like, did you, when you were a kid
you were-
growing up watching Dallas, did you think that was what Americans were like? It was everybody slapping each other saying,
Yeah, and it's really interesting the difference between American and British soap operas because American
yeah.
soap operas are all about like really glamorous rich people, and British soap operas are all about poor working class people. I think that says
Very
there's a big
interesting.
difference between like the
It's
social
aspirational.
Yeah.
because I think that those big soap operas, like you don't really have the
Well, that changed in the
primetime
90s.
ones anymore, but the daytime ones in America obviously are still popular, and they're all about super glamorous people.
Right.
Right.
Well, but then
so I think that given that soap operas are such a a huge part of like the pop culture and makeup of a nation. I think they do actually say something about the nation.
But in the 90s, we had this whole thing where like soap operas were about teenagers for a while, with 90210 and all that business.
Right. And we have those as well.
Those are soap operas.
Those are not soap operas.
No, they are.
Soap operas.
Beverly Hills 90210 and more so Melrose Place.
Yeah, Melrose Place.
Totally soaps.
Right. And Melrose Place started with the poor working class people, the struggling actors, and then they all became super famous and glamorous.
But even
by
the
the end of
struggling
run.
actors lived in that amazing complex, right? I mean,
Yeah, but if you were living in Middle America where you didn't realize how limited space was on the coast, you thought, oh, that place is kind of a dumpy apartment, but neat pool.
yeah.
It
was no Friends.
Yeah, the Friends
was it the
apartment was
loft?
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
loft in New York.
everyone lives in these amazing New York lofts that are like,
Yeah.
you have no idea how much that would cost in real life.
Even the Jerry Seinfeld apartment, which looks really dingy, kind of like in the modern day and small, is a massive New York
It's
apartment.
pretty big.
Well, they only
And
needed
yeah.
3 walls.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Hub, every day when I come home, one of a variety of 80s or 90s sitcoms is
I
on.
love the Hub. We've talked about this before, but it's great.
I didn't remember talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah, because we talked about how we discovered
Transformers Generation 1.
It has Transformers G1,
right.
Transformers Prime,
Has Batman.
but it
19
also has the great retro. It shows the original G.I. Joes. It shows Batman. What else does it show?
It has both Batman animated series and also Adam West Batman.
Which animated series? The Batman, the original one, the late mid 90s one,
Mid 90s one. The best thing about the Hub is you can watch it as if it is a portal to the 90s because it's not like it's a marathon. So if you watch every night regularly, you do get the show as it aired. This
More or
sequential
less,
showing.
yeah.
Without the summer breaks.
Right. And I've said it before. Transformers Prime is actually pretty good.
I need to watch that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's won all kinds of like Emmy, like kids Emmys.
What happened to TV Land? Isn't the Hub doing what TV Land?
No, the TV Land owned a bunch of stuff that's kind of lower value as it gets older because it's like Car 54. Where are
TV
you?
Land kind of goes back
Lucy
farther
and My
in
Dad the
time. It's more,
Martian
it's more like Honeymooners and I Dream of
Andy
Jeannie
Griffith.
and stuff like that.
Hey, nothing wrong with that Dream of
No,
Jeannie.
there's a terrific. There's a place for all of those shows. I love Andy Griffith show.
Have we talked
I love
about-
the Honeymooners. If I'm channel surfing, I love Lucy is on. I'll watch that.
You went on a
And
Andy
it's always
Griffith
on
Jag like 2 years ago maybe?
Yeah, I did a marathon where I was watching. I discovered they were on Netflix.
Had
and
you-
I just burned, and I'd never really seen.
You'd never
them.
seen it before.
But I like those shows that kind of go back to this like simpler time. I mean, it's a fantasy, and I think it probably always was. But I like that sleepy
It's the
little
same reason
town.
why Will hates the Prairie Home Companion.
No,
because he's witnessed the actual dark underbelly of that
The
world.
difference is that the Prairie Home Companion is, trite and
Nope.
kind of it's
You're so wrong on this.
Oh, it's so bad. Andy Griffith is I absolutely love Andy Griffith. We watched that every day after school for years,
And that's
years.
not trite.
But it was because it was from the time it was from. It's not trite.
The Midwest
okay, I
is
see
just
what
not
you mean.
catching
Right.
up. Kirsten Gieler still lives in that period.
You think that, but Garrison Keillor probably rolls out of town in his Mercedes every day.
No, no.
Yeah, to
No
be fair,
way.
Garrison
Right.
Keillor did
No
did
way.
actually grow up in the time that he's talking about. So he's not making that stuff. It's an
I
authentic
understand.
look back.
Yeah.
From Minnesota.
I love Prairie Home Companion.
I've one of my goals in life is to winter in Minnesota at some point. I want to go someplace where you have to put like plastic over the inside and outside of the windows because it gets so cold outside.
It gets pretty
and
cold.
learn to ice fish and
Someone should be
all
Guy
that
Noir
kind of stuff.
Private Eye
yeah.
for Halloween.
But no, I did. I marathoned a lot of Andy Griffith, and then just like anything, like the mood change, and I stopped watching. But I've still got like 4. I'm a little bit. I think it got to a point.
It
where
went
like,
on for a long
Well,
time.
it got to a point where like Gomer Pyle became a more of a character.
Well, he
I
started singing.
I started to dislike it. And I started to get really nervous about because I know the change into color is coming.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I don't want to watch that show in color. That feels weird to me.
It's kind of pastel-y though. At least when I watched it and it was in color, it was muted pastels to the point that you kind of didn't notice it was in color if you weren't really thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Gomer Pyle
Product of
thing.
the technology.
The Gomer Pyle thing was it was them commercializing it. It was at the time period when you could put an album out for anything that was on TV and it would sell a few 100,000 copies or a million copies. And he really did have a lovely singing voice, Gomer Pyle, or what's his name? I can't remember the actor's name. He died a few years ago. Should we talk about technology?
if we
Talk
must.
about all sorts of stuff.
You want to talk about warming up, microphone warm ups? We had an extended conversation about that.
About distance.
Mic
This
checks?
distance. Wait,
Well-
wait, what was it? This distance?
Don't diss
You're too close
this
now. You
distance.
said you were going to be further away, and now you're leaning
Don't
forward.
diss the distance. Don't diss this distance. And
No, the lemon
tongue
one.
twisters. What was the tongue twister you grew up with, Will?
Well, my dad was an auctioneer when I was a kid, so we did a lot of tongue twisters in the house. It was like a thing that he used to do to practice talking fast and doing the pitter patter.
Talking to the trees.
No, the trees were later. I can still hear the trees, Clarice. No, the Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said this butter is bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. So I bought a bitter butter, but put in my bitter batter, made my bitter batter better. Betty Butter bought a bitter butter.
It's pretty good.
My goodness.
Surprised you remember all of that.
Yeah, it's all like 4 words that you just change the order.
Did you get like? Are you so good because you would get like violently beaten if you didn't get it right or something?
No, my father was nonviolent. Man.
Bitter. It's bitter.
No, we that and the what's the one with the peck of pickled peppers?
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That's the one we always used to do.
Or she sells seashells by the seashore.
Well, we live in the mountains.
That's one I always struggled with. She sells seashells on the seashore.
That one's hard because the sounds are real close.
You just have to remember that. You just have to remember that the sounds flip each time.
Yeah.
You know, pronunciation is very important.
And then
fascinating conversation.
For some reason, red lemon, yellow lemon always used to.
Red lemon, yellow lemon, red lemon, yellow lemon.
Yeah.
Is that because you had some sort of?
I don't know why.
Tongue twister for dunces.
I don't know why I always found that one difficult, but I did. And we were saying earlier there was a TV commercial for butter in the UK when I was a kid, and they used to say, "You'll never put a better bit of butter on your knife." And that's not difficult to say.
No,
it was just like it sounded like a tongue twister, but it really wasn't.
Oh, it just rolls off the tongue, actually.
Yeah.
Like a good piece of butter.
Should melt on the tongue.
I got to go to speech therapy when I was a little kid.
Why?
And I had a speech impediment that was particularly embarrassing.
Was it executable?
No, it was not. No, that's
What was this?
so.
Because you have those, that was a waste of money.
You still have an embarrassing speech impediment.
That's not an impediment. That's just a correct pronunciation. So when instead of I gotta make sure I get it right because it's not funny.
Wait, is it because of your parents had different accents?
No. There's a couple of fairly common speech impediments that small kids get, and it comes from learning the wrong phonemes and stuff. It's really easy to fix. The one that I had was that I replaced the TR sound with F in words, most words.
So give me an example.
So instead of saying truck,
well, that's not good.
yeah, and as a like just to be clear,
That's
my
weird
favorite
because the two sounds are nothing like one another.
I don't. It has to do with the shape or how you pick something up or something. I don't never looked into the derivation of the impediment.
Wow.
Yeah, because some sounds actually sound, in terms of linguistics, they sound the same, except one uses the back of your throat and one doesn't. So for example, the K and G sounds use the exact same part of your tongue structure, but K and G, the G part uses the back of your throat.
Interesting.
And so like F, V, F, and V are counterparts. Your tongue is exactly the same for both, but the V uses it's a glottal, I think it's what it's called. F, V.
We learn all sorts of new things on This Is Only a Test. Yeah, so anyway, I had this big book of trucks when I was a kid, and when I was in the car, I would like to point I'd see a truck driving by, I'd just be like, truck! But, didn't say that.
Wow.
So yeah, growing up in Northeast Tennessee, it was a source of consternation.
Did they?
for
I
my
mean,
mother.
they might have thought that you had like Tourette's or something.
No. Well, they knew that
Because
something
this
was
stuff
up.
often does go misdiagnosed.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe I do have Tourette's. I do curse a lot.
Yeah.
No, it was so yeah, I got to meet the lovely speech therapist lady, and they take you into a room with the children, and there's one-way glass so your mom can sit and watch on the other side and watch
It's
the
like the
lesson.
King's Speech.
It was just like the King's Speech, except for not a king and not a stutterer. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So the election was this week.
Yeah.
Big news.
That's probably the biggest news.
Now we can do politics if you want.
I think we should talk about the technology.
I think we should talk about Nate Silver.
I think both Nate Silver, several people did really well with statistics this go around.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to me is that the willful rejection of knowledge on the part of the GOP and the most ardent supporters was pretty soundly defeated when the people who actually used math and statistics.
Now,
to
was
predict
this just
polling.
denial at the time of the moment, or
no?
is
It's what it is it's business. The New York Times, it was the LA Times had a good piece about this. They did a piece on the Karl Rove meltdown on Fox News, and if you
NY
saw
Mag.
this, and maybe it was NY
yeah.
Mag.
Yeah.
But one of the greatest moments of election night was when Fox News called Ohio, and they called it early.
Yeah.
And they
NBC and NPR called it earlier.
But Fox, as you know, being skewed right wing, is probably you'd expect them to be the last network to call states for Obama and put in and reelect him.
Mm-hmm.
But they called it early, and Karl Rove, of course, who is the least. The fact that they even have him there as a pundit is ridiculous. The guy has $350 million tied up in wanting to see Mitt Romney elected. So the idea that he can sit there as an analyst is obviously a joke in itself. But he started saying, well, these numbers aren't right. And of course, Fox, to their credit, stuck by their guns and said, no, you are wrong.
Well, hold on. They sent somebody down to find the nerds in the back room.
Yeah, they went and found the actual
the
actual statisticians that call the results saying he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Decision desk, as it were.
So, but the point being that what the NY Mag piece said was the meta-narrative of this election was the triumph of, and I'm using their words, data-driven nerds like Nate Silver and is it Sam Yang? Who also called the result correctly. Versus
using similar technique. I mean, just to be clear, their techniques were really straightforward and some math and data-driven.
Right. Versus people like Karl Rove and Michael Barone and Dick Morris, who are not in the business of accurately predicting, but they're in the business of telling their bases what they want to hear.
Right.
It's no
gut feeling.
It's no coincidence that every single one of these right-wing conservative pollsters predicted that Romney would win, sometimes in a landslide. And of course, I don't know how they. I don't know if they really believe it, or
you're talking about pundits, not pollsters. Because they were saying the argument was the pollsters are.
Well, they're not actually running polls, but they're analyzing data and they're predicting
Right.
electoral votes and so forth. And Dick Morris, who I think has got to come out of this as the most discredited individual of all, who predicted 355 electoral votes for Mitt Romney. And said he had all the math and all the data to back it up, and there's other unskewed poll guys. All these guys were saying that the math was wrong.
Did he show his work?
I mean, I would love to see it. I would love to see the kind of the crazy mathematics.
To be fair, in 2000 and 2004, we had similar things on the other side. I mean, it wasn't, we didn't have pundits saying, oh, they were sure that, Gore had won.
Well, I'm sure there was somebody saying that.
But someone, people on the left were crunching numbers till their last minute, too, finding ways to make a case that there was still hope.
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and that's why it was funny to kind of watch Karl Rove desperately kind of hitting refresh, trying to cling on to something because he saw it all slipping away.
Someone tweeted, during Obama's acceptance or his victory speech, Karl Rove would be running down the aisle with a crumpled sheet of note paper. It's like, I object.
Yeah, the meltdown on that stuff is unfortunate. The Nate Silver story is really interesting though, because he did the same thing in 2008. Just to be,
right.
He went 50 for 50.
49 for 50.
49 for 50 in 2008. You're right.
In 2008, he just wasn't sponsored by New York Times.
35 or 40 are a given to begin with. The swing states are not easy to call. And he not only called them correctly, he called the margins, and he had it pretty much dead on.
Now, the thing is, he never calls the election. What he does is he gives a statistical
and this is why even if he had been wrong, and again, there's no way for him to be really. If Romney had won, he would just said, "Yeah, well, that happened within the 10% statistical probability that my model accounted for."
The challenge of using math is that math is uncertain.
This is the problem.
It is certain
and I actually think,
percentages.
not to get too political, but I think it's a perfect microcosm of the problem that they have on the right wing, which is rejecting science in favor of their own ideology. Nate Silver and people like that were saying, science and math is your friend. These people are saying,
right.
I reject your science. My ideology tells me what's going to happen. Well, the problem with this is if you reject science, science will reject you right back. And that's exactly what happened.
You're talking about, that's not true though. What you're talking about is people on the extreme sides of this national debate.
But you say extreme, but Fox News is a mainstream news organization now. It gets bigger ratings. You can't call these people the extremes anymore because they get massive ratings. This is now what has become the mainstream of that side.
And to Fox's credit, like in the New York Mag piece said, the executives high up said to report Ohio, for
to be fair, Fox News itself, I actually think conducted itself reasonably well. It's people like Rove and other people.
But when they put Rove on the stage, then they make the mistake.
Well, that's playing for its base. Another point, and we'll get back to like the numbers and statistics, because a lot of people watching on TV, you had, like the fourth screen syndrome was in full effect. TV, third screen, and then you had laptops or phones for Twitter.
Yeah, this was a great multiple screen experience. I had so many tabs open on my laptop, and I'm constantly going back and forth between the different news networks on TV.
But then also, going through different networks, you notice just like the just the graphics were, just the production value was so different between all the different networks, between ABC, MSNBC, Fox.
They all had their own gimmicks.
Well, you switch to Fox, and all the font some gets 2 points bigger, 3 points bigger.
Right.
Everything gets super bold.
Well, and this isn't. I mean, they have an older demographic. It's the large print news network, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get that.
You're saying old people need to see the screen better because
CNN, of course, had all its usual holograms and nonsense.
I won't
watch CNN anymore because it's just
MSNBC. I thought had the best, well designed from an aesthetic perspective. Graphics. And
the whole Democracy Plaza brought to you by Windows 8. I enjoyed all of that.
So
I didn't care much for the Democracy Plaza or painting the ice skating rink at 30 Rock. I'm sure.
Wait, really?
The lights. They painted the ice skating rink.
Rockefeller, they had a map, and they would come in and they would color the states in.
Was it like it wasn't
first
like down line, or was it like actually painted on the ice?
No, they actually had people come out and paint it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then they shot lights between on the Rockefeller Center. To split it between blue
the same way that
blue and
CNN
red.
had the red and blue lights going up the Empire State Building.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying presentation, the font, just showing the numbers and how frequently they would show stuff. It was
But it's all. I understand it makes it more pleasant to watch, I guess, but it's all gimmickry. It's not really.
I mean, there's only so many
reporting.
ways within a 15-minute time period you can say that
the same
won a
fucking
certain
thing.
state.
Yeah.
Here's what amazes me: that going back to the statistics of it, that someone like Dick Morris, who was so wrong, who predicted 355 to 213, and it went, 332, 203 the other way?
303.
Well, it'll be 332 on Friday. It was so ridiculous. He was so, like, in any other job, if you worked as like a stock market analyst or something for like Goldman Sachs or whatever,
you could be an analyst and be that wrong consistently.
If you were that, in most other jobs, if you were that wrong, you would not be in business anymore. And yet he's on TV the next day offering electoral insight after he's been utterly discredited.
So I mean, rejection of the truth is my problem. I mean, it's pretty. I'm going to start over again. My political leanings are pretty well established. I have voted for both sides of the aisle. I've been an independent voter since I was about 22 years old.
Yeah.
And I literally go and look for the candidate I think is going to do the best job for the country. Whether they agree with the things that I do, I literally try to make a decision this is what I think is best.
Right.
You are the undecided voter.
No, I'm not, because I was decided really super early this time. The challenge with these elections is that nobody votes in the primaries. So what happens on the primary elections when you have an incumbent running against somebody who's not an incumbent is the primary battle that the GOP faced this time around was so brutal.
Yeah, it was very damaging.
And because the only people who come out are the evangelicals and the far right.
Right.
Then you end up with the candidates that are going to have a really hard time facing a moderate.
And that's the problem. I mean, I think I would actually like it if the GOP was a valid political party. I don't think it is anymore because of what the Tea Party and other people have done to it. But like that's the problem is that in order to survive that nomination process, Mitt Romney had to say so much shit about being severely conservative that he can't now. He could never then come back to the center and appeal to like a wider base.
I think
so. There's a lot of interesting stories that I read in the last couple of days about how the GOP has now got to face the crisis.
That happens every time you lose.
But not to this degree. I mean,
it's not like this was a mandate, though. I mean, if you look at popular vote, it was 47 to 53, right?
Popular vote doesn't matter. That's a big problem.
I understand popular vote doesn't matter, but even in the electoral college, the swing on the electoral votes was tiny on a fairly significant number of states. But even the non-swing states were like 48 to 52%, which is not a mandate.
But the bigger picture that's more interesting is that the way that demographics are changing they're moving in a direction that is not friendly to what the GOP currently is.
What, you mean We Hate Women and Minorities platform?
Basically.
No, it's the We Hate Women, but we still acknowledge.
It's not like
that.
It's too much to say they hate them. It's just that we don't particularly want to do anything for you.
Well, and all the
not recognizing that the base has changed and demographics in America are
very have been changing for 20 years. There's no fucking surprise.
But let's try and keep this like within the bounds and test it a little. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would do a political podcast. I would talk about this stuff all day. I don't know if we're irritating the audience right now.
I'll put bookmarks in so people can fast forward.
But don't you think it's great that someone like Nate Silver and before him like Mohawk NASA guy, like these are the new rock stars,
Triumph of the nerds,
scientists and like that, like the whole it really is happening. Like someone like Nate Silver is legitimately a major national celebrity right now, and he's a fucking statistician. He's a statistician.
20% of traffic to New York Times, which is when you think about NewYorkTimes.com as the 5th largest news site on the internet.
Yeah,
and he was pushing 1/5 of that traffic. It's astounding.
You know, it's funny.
If you type 5 into Google right now, it autofills 3.8.
For a long time, Nate Silver is the only guy I follow on Twitter who doesn't follow me back because I usually have a rule about I won't.
my God, you're such an asshole.
I know I'm such a dick.
Hey, you can
I won't
follow-
follow anyone on Twitter if they don't follow me back. That's why I follow very few people.
So you're on team follow back. You and
Basically.
Bieber.
In a way, I guess. But Nate, so I made an exception in Nate Silver because I so enjoyed his analysis that I wanted to get the Twitter alert anytime he posted something. And for a while, nobody knew what he looked because he doesn't have a picture.
Yeah.
I'm like, I almost don't ever want to see what this guy looks like because I've got this image in my head of like the ultimate nerd.
It's like when you
and then when I finally saw him, that's exactly who he is. I was
He was on Colbert.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
One last bit of nonpartisan insight I thought that Rachel Maddow brought out at the end of Obama's speech, that the big division should not be the blue and the red. It should be the people who vote, people who don't vote, people who participate, and those who don't. And that's, I think, more important division.
So I had a really different election night experience than you guys.
Yeah.
Because we scheduled our first childbirth class because this was the only one we could do if we were going to learn how to have a baby between now and when the baby comes.
I'm going to preface this by, at the end of every conversation, anytime I ask Will a question now, he has to answer it and then add some baby insight.
I like to give you something to fear, Norm.
So now,
by the way, I'm going to a breastfeeding class tonight.
Yeah. Not tonight.
Given that when you're in these classes, because I went through them myself.
Yeah. Did you go to the hippy dippy ones or did you go to the hospital ones?
I went to a hippy dippy one.
Okay.
And you're expected to put your phone away and pay attention. But on election night, that I don't know how I couldn't be in a vacuum during that.
So this was
I'd be going crazy.
This was the first one. Well, so there's two things I realized really quickly. The class started at 6:30, so things were pretty much decided except for Ohio and Ohio, Florida, and Virginia were still outstanding, and those three states were most likely to decide the swing.
But you presumably at that point, because I for a long time when we thought Florida was going to be important, and Florida was like 50-50 all the way. I was like, oh god, is he going to come?
Yeah, 49.6, 49.6.
It wasn't until they called
Colorado.
No,
Ohio.
Wisconsin and New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Because the New York Times had that, and that's the other great thing. There's so many great web resources. Did you see the 512 paths thing, where you could click on the states and it would show all the different electrical
That was cool.
paths?
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, and it would update in real time, and it was really great. And so you plugged in Wisconsin and New Hampshire, and you saw Mitt Romney's paths just go blah, 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 straight down to almost nothing. I was like, I felt confident at that point.
So the thing that I was doing, because you have to take a lot of breaks because a room full of pregnant ladies have to go to the bathroom, and there were a relatively small number of bathrooms on the floor. And,
That's a poor design decision.
Well, I mean, you use the space that you have available. It ended up working out because about every 45 minutes we took a break, and I would bust out the phone and be like, "How's the election going?" The only election coverage I watched until I got home that night, and it was already decided, was the big board, the NPR big board, which was the best thing of all. So
was that the one that looked really old school?
So this is literally the tool that they designed for their reporters and commentators to watch on air.
But it actually looked like something from like a stock market trader screen or something. It was really you look at all the kind of the fancy graphics everyone else had. They had a really bare bones.
It was really
board.
stripped down. It worked right size for the phone.
Yeah.
It loaded fast, automatically loaded every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And it gave you all the stuff that was important: the number of precincts reporting, the current tally, whether states had been declared or not. And I mean, I missed a bunch of blowhards talking on TV,
right?
But I don't feel like I missed anything important. Like I was checking in, everybody was relatively well informed, and if there was something weird happened, then you could go look it up.
Yeah.
But the information was there,
right?
And it was just a kind of different way to consume it.
So what was the point? Are you saying there was some point pre-Ohio where you felt like it was all you could like put your phone away and relax?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I just felt going in, I was like, I don't think this is going to be decided by the time we're done in 2.5 hours. And then it was decided with like 20 minutes to go.
I was prepared for a long night, but again, as soon as I think it was New Hampshire and it was actually as soon as Wisconsin went in, I was like, that's it.
Yeah. And it was the first presidential election that we've had where Twitter has had such a major force. And
Twitter was important last time.
The most tweeted event ever, right?
Did you see the pictures on Scott Beale's blog of the election night at Twitter headquarters in 2008?
No.
And it was when they were in the South Park office still. So it was like an upstairs room with maybe 40 people in it. And
well, that's the thing. Twitter's evolved so much in the last 4 years. Can't imagine how many users they've added in the last 4 years.
All of them, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, election night. Any other big tech stuff on election, or are we ready to move on?
I'm trying to think. There are a couple of things. Rachel Maddow had a video that's gone viral. I tweeted it this morning. This is the thing I loved about it. You talk about how not a mandate. Aside from the whether or not you agree with who should have been elected president, the thing that I like as kind of a left liberal progressive kind of person is that it wasn't just about the candidates that I liked getting. Like I love seeing Todd Akin go down in flames. I love seeing Richard Murdoch go down in flames, and all these fuckheads get crushed. I loved every minute of it.
Gary Whitta's opinion is not the official opinion of This Is Only a Test.
Aside from that, and it was great to see all the marriage equality proposals sweep the board in every
fantastic.
state.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But what I love most about it is the thing I hate most about the other side of the political spectrum are the Hannitys and those guys over there. And what this did more than anything, they were all so wrong, so wrong about everything. They were massively wrong. They were discredited and shown up to be the fucking frauds that they all are. And Maddow did a thing that was just 5 minutes, just reading a list of all the things. Remember all the things you said? You were wrong about every single fucking one of them. And it was beautiful to watch. And it's a great viral video, and you should go watch it.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, it was terrific. That's enough. This is the most political ever. I would love to do a political podcast, but I would need to find like someone.
You need a Combs.
Yeah, I need
a meek.
I need a Hannity to Mike Holmes.
No. You want to be the Hannity.
No, I would be the Hannity, but on the left wing side.
You need the meek.
I'd be more like Chris Matthews.
You know,
like
Tucker Carlson's
bombastic
probably available.
Yeah, at this point he probably is.
Yeah, what's he doing?
Bow ties.
AT&T and Verizon announced Windows Phone 8 handset pricing. I think the interesting thing to me here is the Lumia 920 price at $100 new.
$50.
Or they're doing a rebate or something too?
They have two models. Starts at $50.
Wow. That's bananas.
Yeah. If you want to buy a Windows Phone 8 handset, and you've been using Windows Phone 8.
Yeah, I've been using the
2 weeks
HTC
now.
8X. It's a prototype. It's a little, but it doesn't seem janky. It seems quite good.
$50.
Yeah.
Here's a.
Do you think they're hurting themselves pricing that low?
No, this is one of the. No, they have to get aggressive.
Yeah, but it says more about the consumer mindset because it's all about psychology. When you walk into an AT&T store, because most people, I assume, this is targeting, are people who still walk into an AT&T store.
Yeah,
and
talking
pick
to
phones.
like Michael Gardenberg, who's the phone analyst, says people walk into the phone, they look at the price on the sticker,
Yes,
and that's how
and
they make the decision.
don't
Right, and that's why
project-
Android phones have been so successful.
And they don't project a year later when, if you look at the price between the overall price in terms of your contract between a $200 phone and a $50 phone, that $150 difference really doesn't matter when you're paying $2,000.
It's less than 10% of the overall cost of the.
Did you see? You maybe have it on the list, so tell me if I'm jumping the gun. But there was another report out this week that I thought was very interesting. That Android now accounts for 75% of the smartphone market.
Globally or US?
I didn't see the breakdown.
I hate those. I hate the statistics. They don't tell you. The growth every time.
This has always been the problem.
They say growth and activations and market share. Really, there's no context.
But again, we've talked about how Microsoft is coming into this market with Windows Phone 8. So far, it's from a standing start, and you look at how entrenched the other OSs are.
Yeah.
And you're right. People do look at the sticker. They do want the zero down phone. That they've got to do that. Otherwise, why would you pick it?
And $50 down, $100 down on a Nokia 920 on something that when you use it initially in store, maybe 1 month later you won't be as happy with it, or you'll be perfectly happy with it. Just in store, that experience is pretty great.
Let's not forget you can get an iPhone for free now.
They're doing the 4 for free.
The 4
right?
is free on contract.
But if you compare then, the 4S between a new Lumia 920, which we haven't used yet, but that makes the 920 look pretty attractive.
The HTC 8X, the 8X, which is their high-end Windows Phone 8, is a quite nice phone, and the app situation is dramatically better than it is on Surface, on Windows 8 ARM. It's a very usable device. I'm quite happy with it.
I made a lot of jokes about Windows Phone 8. Oh, why would you go there? There's no apps. But when I looked in the App Store, I was like, again, it's nice to have the million apps or whatever, but I only really want like a handful of things I use every day, and it has most of those things.
Twitter and Facebook and Kindle and a music app and 5 other things.
Really, more important is how well it does because it has a Facebook, it has a Twitter. You can upload photos to some type of cloud service, whether it's iCloud, PhotoStream, or SkyDrive, but how well it handles those things.
Right.
Integrates
You said apps take a long time to load still, right?
No, that's on the Surface. It's fine on
the Surface. On
it's
the phone's
fine on
okay?
the phone is. I'd have to do side-by-side comparisons. I feel like the phone is probably more dependent on an app-by-app basis than having a universal 5-second load time.
Now, are Windows Phone 8 handsets in stores now? Are they out?
Not yet.
Okay.
Later this month.
All right.
Well, hold on. It's November, right?
It's November. Later
No,
this month.
I'm saying it's November now.
It is November
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it raining?
Oh no, it was really windy and stormy last night.
Yeah. I was painting this morning outside and it started raining on my stuff. It was really bad. So yeah, the Windows Phone 8 stuff, I mean...
This feels like the launch that they should have had a year ago. And everything.
You mean 2 years ago?
Even 2 years. 2 years ago, the Windows Phone 7. But the confidence I feel in this launch, market share side, in a vacuum, just product wise, I feel very good about.
Windows Phone 7 was basically just a live public beta.
It was a let's see if this is a good idea. Is this going to review and are people who buy this going to be
I don't
happy
know.
with
I
it?
don't know what conclusions they've drawn. Can you
I mean,
answer,
it
can you
reviewed
answer that
well.
question?
We see a lot of Lumias in the wild.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never seen a Lumia in the wild.
I was watching the Giants parade.
I've never seen a Windows. I've never seen a Windows 8
they're
phone.
so
A
identifiable.
Windows phone in the. Yeah, and that's the
cyan?
thing. You can spot them a mile off.
I've seen
because they're so
I've
bright
seen
and
plenty of
colorful
them.
and the big bright tiles. The only time I've ever seen them is when I'm hanging out with people who work for Microsoft.
Yeah, or at press events.
Let's talk about people we know. Every time I've talked to Microsoft PR person or someone who works with Mike Edelman or whatever, one of their PR agencies, or works directly for Microsoft, yes, they have to use Windows computers, which is fine. They have to use the Windows phones, and they've always previously had to use Windows Messenger. And now it's a better case for them because now they can use Skype because they're phasing out Messenger.
Right.
And they're using Windows Phone 8s now, which I think are perfectly viable alternatives. And really the final thing is on desktop and laptops using those Windows 8, the start screen stuff, which
So-
I don't really see people using.
Well, speaking of Windows 8 laptops, you brought over a Windows 8 laptop.
We'll talk about that.
Really
Yeah, we'll
liked.
talk about
We'll
that
get
when
to
we're
that.
testing,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, the Windows Phone 8, like here's the thing about Windows Phone, because they haven't said this publicly, but I'm sure given what we understand about Windows Phone, that platform is going to move in stair steps, right? It's not a gradual curve up like the Android hardware the hardware development happens on Android, where Samsung releases something and then HTC releases something a little bit better, and then Motorola releases something a little bit better, and then Samsung releases another phone. It is all the phones for this generation are more or less the same with slight changes, and then the next generation will be a big leap up, and then the next generation of that will be another big leap up. Right. So if you're going to buy a Windows Phone 8, now is the time to do it. I mean, that is, and I think I haven't spent enough time with it to do a review at this point, but it seems, I would say that what I've seen so far is very good. The mail app is pretty good. The calendaring stuff is okay. It works better if you're hooked up to Outlook.com or Hotmail than Google, but it's totally workable on Google, and it's not a bad It's not a bad piece of hardware.
Do you think it's a bad thing in the battle of ecosystems that we have now? There's Google and Android. There's obviously Apple and iOS X and iOS, and then there's the Microsoft Windows ecosystem where you've got Surface, you've got the phones, you've got the laptops.
I think the Microsoft's ecosystem, of all those ecosystems, I think the Google one is the strong one.
I'm just wondering if, they all basically want you to live inside the totality of their system. Like Apple would love it if
they are less so now.
You use Macs and an iPhone and an iPad. Google would love it if you use, a fucking Chromebook and an Android phone and a Nexus 7.
Google just wants you to use
way
search,
more,
is
but
the
there are
thing.
way more concessions now.
I'm just saying they're making it very easy. They're making all these devices and all these OS talk to each other very easily. So if you live within one of those ecosystems, if you're completely kind of partisan and say, I do everything this way, then it's great in the sense that all your devices will talk to each other or whatever. But I wonder if on the flip side, if you don't want to do that, if you want to say, well, look, I like Windows Phone, but I also like my Mac and I like a Nexus 7 tablet. It's actually very difficult to live like that now because those things don't talk to each other very well.
They didn't used to.
So it's kind of like you either buy into the whole system or you live in this kind of fragmented world where it's much more difficult to kind of.
Here's the
I think
difference.
for Apple, Microsoft, yes, you're not gonna see Microsoft phones working great on Apple Macs and iPhones work okay on Windows. iTunes still sucks,
right?
And the Apple's moved further away. So you
iTunes sucks on Mac too, though.
Yes.
Just to be clear,
but you don't have to tether your phone to your computer anymore, really, to do anything. Google, everyone has to concede that they need Google services to work well on their devices, and Google holds a lot of that close to their heart.
Right.
That's why Gmail and Calendar and Docs work best on the Nexus devices, and Gmail has to work well on Windows. Microsoft has to make sure Gmail works well on their phones.
Everybody has to make sure Gmail works well on their stuff. I mean, that's the thing is, if you
Gmail
look at those
is so
ecosystems,
ubiquitous that it's in everyone's interest to have
Have
those
you guys
things work
used
on everything.
and you're at search is what they care most about because that's where
Right.
their ads are and that's where the money is because they make money selling ads, not products. Have you guys used voice search for Gmail on iOS?
no.
Google Voice Search. It is so much better, not only than Siri, but better than Google Search on
Google Voice Search for Google, not Google Voice Search for Gmail.
Yeah, Google Voice Search for Google is so much better than Siri and so much better on iOS as a third-party app than on Nexus devices built in.
Oh, you think?
Yes. If you have a Nexus 7 or if you have a Galaxy S3 or a Galaxy, because the search bar is built into the top, it's built into the OS, right? And you touch that microphone button and you do a search, it is slower on those devices than it is within the voice
But you
search
have to
app
launch
on
the
iOS.
app on iOS.
Yes, you have to launch the app, but the search, they've really made that experience really nice for iOS users.
I mean, the thing for me on the ecosystem lock-in question is we've kind of seen this all before because this all happened with the iTunes Store and MP3 or digital music for 10 years ago at this point now. And what's going to happen, I think, is that the people who are making hardware, when there's not a lot of competition and you're building a base that hasn't had previous connection to these kinds of devices, encouraging lock-in is a good thing for them, right? Because not for consumers, it's a good thing for the manufacturers because it makes it more likely that people who've already bought their hardware are going to continue buying later generations of their hardware. As the ecosystem as a whole grows and there's more people in this market,
I think that's a terrible business.
Oh, it's a terrible, absolutely.
Yeah, not just for consumers, but just moving forward. And I think that's what Apple does a little bit differently in that they make the products good, not just the services.
Well, my
good.
point was as there's more people in that potential market, it makes more sense to open things up and be a better citizen of the larger community.
But here's, I guess, my original question, and this is, I don't know how common this is, but I think there are definitely people like this. Let's just say that I love my iPad Mini.
Yeah.
But I also
Let's just say,
and in the world,
coincidentally,
hypothetically.
my hypothetical self mirrors my true feelings identically.
But I'm about to completely go off that script. So let's just say I'm a Johnny consumer, and when it comes to tablets, I prefer the iPad Mini. When it comes to phones, I prefer the Lumia 920.
Well, that's a lie.
And when it comes to computers, I prefer Windows Phone 8. I prefer Windows 8.
Okay.
If those are the three devices that, because those are the three screens that we have these days. If I'm using those three devices, how much more difficult am I making my life than if I've just picked one ecosystem across the board and went with it? I voted like straight party line down ticket with everything.
The big thing you lose are the supplemental features like the photo sharing, right? So Mail is no problem at this point because Mail uses really established standards. Everybody knows how to talk the specific weird things that Gmail does. Very few real people are using
Things
Outlook.
like Dropbox are platform agnostic.
Dropbox. I mean, this is the benefit of using the platform agnostic services instead of things like iCloud and SkyDrive. Well, SkyDrive is pretty platform agnostic at this point.
Right.
But yeah,
Google Drive is platform agnostic.
yeah, pretty much. I mean,
But again, you'll get more out of it if you are fully Googled up.
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at Google, their native experience is Chrome, which is available on pretty much every platform except for Windows 8 RT at this point,
Right,
and maybe
right.
Windows Phone 8.
There's Chrome app on RT.
No, there's not.
I have a Chrome's retro app on Windows.
But
It's an x86 only app.
But the problem
Yeah.
is when you get into purchases and things like music management, that's when it starts to get tricky, right?
Music management's not that much of a problem anymore because most of the places where you're actually buying MP3s that you download and manage yourself are not DRM'd anymore. Books and movies and stuff like that still have DRM. So yeah, if you buy something from the Microsoft Store, a video from the Microsoft Store, you're not going to be able to play it on your iPad probably. If you buy something from Amazon, on the other hand, you can play it pretty much everywhere because they have apps for all the relevant platforms. So like there's an Amazon Instant Video app for iOS now, and you can watch Amazon Instant Streaming.
So you're
and
suggesting
purchase
that if
songs.
you are not in any way kind of want to be religious or faithful to any one platform across the board, and you just like what you like. So in tablets, I like Microsoft. In phones, I like Apple. And in computers, I like... No, wait, that would be the bad way to do it. But let's say in tablets, I like Google. In phones, I like Microsoft.
Yeah.
And in computers, I like a Mac. You're saying that you're missing some stuff by having it fragmented like that, but not really too much. It's all still totally manageable.
I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, the things that are important are relatively easy to do. Even like Photo Stream is supported on Windows. You can install that little app, and it'll just download the photos and dump them in a folder for you, which is way better than the integration with iPhoto, if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah, because it's in Explorer.
Right. It just shows up and it just automatically happens. So yeah, I mean, I think the danger is when you get into things like Mobile Me, which are really super closed and super Apple-y and not very secure, not particularly good.
Right.
Or, the Apple provided, I think it's, what is it, at iCloud.com now is the new Apple provided email address. Those things you avoid that stuff. It's the same reason you don't want to use your Comcast email address. Because then you're stuck with Comcast forever if that becomes your actually work email address.
The other thing is, guys, it's just nice to only have, to get used to having to do one way to do things. Like I have a PC that I use for gaming. I don't use it that often, but I use OS 10 and the Mac so much now in my normal computing daily life that when I flip over occasionally now to go to my Windows PC, I've kind of forgotten how to do things over there. I was like, oh shit, I have to. There's different rules over here now.
You're a special case.
You're a very special case, Gary, as I'm sure your parents have told you.
I mean, the big problem I have is keeping stuff in sync, like finding a password management utility that works across Mac and Windows and iOS and Android and Windows Phone is a little bit tricky because there's not that. LastPass is pretty much it, and I happen to use one password.
I pride myself in being able to use a Mac at the office, a PC at home, but also when I am at the office and I'm on my keyboard, I instinctively use the Windows key as the Apple key, and I can switch that.
Yeah, I do that
control.
too.
So my brain automatically switches when I'm in front of a Mac. I hit Control Windows R or C, Windows V for control copy and paste, and when I'm on a PC, it goes Control C, Control V.
Let's talk about Office for iOS and Android.
Yeah, The Verge had a story that they
that's
revealed.
Out now?
That's not out. They have screen grabs information about Office. And this is something that Microsoft apparently has been working on for a while. How important do you think Office is on iOS?
I think in the business world, it is massively important. I think for normal people, it is not important at all. For people that aren't buying it for work. Like, I don't think people buy... I think the number of people who buy Office for their kid to write papers and do basic household economics and stuff like that is very, very small these days.
Yes, and I think a lot of that could be indicated by how many people actually buy Apple's own productivity software for iOS, Pages and
also
Keynote, and
look at the transition in Office over the last 10 years from a $400 or $500 piece of software to a home and student edition that's $100 to free web software if you just sign up for an account.
yes,
Like, I mean, that's the thing that tells me they're losing the home market because there's frankly there's been better or fine alternatives for light use at home for 10 years now.
I think what we all want is good Google Docs on iOS devices.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing for me is that even in a business circumstance, and admittedly, we are very light users of word processors and spreadsheets, but the benefits of having that stuff stored and synchronized so multiple people can be in one file at the same time are far outweigh the inadequacies of that spreadsheet for people who have giant, huge spreadsheets.
Excel still is by far and away much more useful.
Agreed.
I just
Google
started using
spreadsheets.
the iCloud integration on Pages because I write Word documents in Pages because it's a very clean, simple word processor. I like it. And if you save a document into the cloud, then if you pick up your iPad or your iPhone and turn on Pages, it's just there. So that that whole thing is. And I haven't been doing it much because I don't want to do it like if I'm writing a book or a script or something that is valuable. I'm still very nervous about keeping stuff in the cloud because I don't like that I don't have a local copy of it.
Yeah.
So, but like when I started playing around with a few like less consequential documents. I'll put this in the cloud and see what happens. And it's great to be able to pick up my phone or whatever and see and I can make changes.
But this is why I like.
I mean, that's no different to Google Docs, but it's nice to have it working with.
Except for I trust Google with my data and I don't trust Apple with my data.
I don't trust any cloud service with my data.
But those cloud services like Pages and iCloud, it doesn't save a local file?
No.
I think that's what I need to look into. If there's a way for it to have it save a local copy, I'm totally happy with it.
So this is the problem with the iCloud integration as I see it. You've hit exactly the thing that I don't like about it, is that you choose to save locally or you choose to save to iCloud. You can't do both easily.
For me,
which is the benefit Dropbox has.
For me, I feel like it's the flip to how they want it to be. Like I save stuff locally, and the cloud is a backup service for me. The idea that the cloud is the primary place where your documents live, that is not cool. And if it's going to be that, then you have to give me
could be a
local. You have to give me a local backup.
It could ruin.
I think there's got to be a way to do it.
Affect the cloud.
And
I can manually duplicate the document and save it manually, but I don't want to have to.
That's a pain in the ass.
It should happen automatically.
And you're going to have versioning problems then.
Yeah.
This is why I like Dropbox better. Dropbox essentially just copies a folder, a magic folder on your hard drive up to the internet, and then the folder on your hard drive.
There are
stays the
versioning
same.
problems with Dropbox as well.
There can be versioning problems with Dropbox. I mean, the easy solution for a local Dropbox backup is to put SyncToy on a Windows machine and have it just copy your Dropbox folder once a day to another hard drive, and then you have the cloud, the first hard drive, and a second hard drive, and you should be backed up.
It's a real backup.
Yeah. Yeah, Office. Do we care? I mean, how are they going to price the iOS Office stuff?
I have no idea.
It seemed like it's going to be a subscription model, right?
I would not like it to be a subscription model.
I'm not going to pay for a subscription for Office.
I don't like subscriptions in general.
You're down on subscriptions? Do you pay for Spotify?
I do pay for Spotify. I pay for Netflix and Spotify. That's
Those are your two subscriptions?
I think subscriptions like Power.
Xbox Live?
I cancel my Xbox Live subscription.
Wow.
I don't
So
need
you can't play Halo online?
Well, who am I going to play? No, I'll watch
What are you
my
going to do when
housemates
the
play
next
Halo.
hot multiplayer Xbox game comes out and we all
Play it
want
on
to play?
PC.
I'll play it on PC.
Yeah, well,
Who with?
You know,
Plenty of people on PC.
I've been playing Borderlands on PC.
I'll play with the
It's quite
Linux guys on Linux Steam. There are like 60,000 of those guys now.
Really?
Yep.
That's not very many.
They opened up the beta.
I know. I saw. Two games, right? Left 4 Dead 2 and something else. I can't remember what the other one was.
I still buy games on 360 just because that's where my friends are and that's where I like the Xbox Live matching system. Like I just bought Need for Speed Most Wanted recently.
Yeah.
Because I love the Need for Speed games. I have problems with the new one, but that's neither here nor there. But I could have bought the PC version and probably had it run much better on a much faster high resolution, faster textures. It would have been a better experience.
Yep.
But I don't have anyone in a friends list. I don't even know how I would do that on PC. Like Xbox, I've got 100 friends, people I know. It's easy for me to find people to play with.
Well, if you have Origin set up right, it'll let you connect with your Xbox Live friends who are playing on the PC.
Oh.
But then you also have to install Origin, which kind of sucks.
Well, if you want to play EA games, you have to install
Right.
Origin. I think the subscription stuff, I think that both that and the number of devices now that we can buy separately and have to charge, those are incremental problems that are going to catch up to us all.
You mean
like the incrementalness of subscriptions? Sure, $5 a month, $10 a month might not seem like a lot for some people.
Oh no, it adds up really
But
quickly.
Having more than 5 of those subscriptions a month is, I think, too much already.
Yeah.
$5, $10 subscriptions a month
Music,
is way too much. Music,
TiVo,
yep.
Xbox, Netflix,
Amazon Prime.
well, that's annual. So I guess that falls in the
they're
Amazon.
thinking about
wall.
offering
Yeah.
a monthly. I mean, that kind of stuff. How many more subscriptions can you afford for it to not
I think that's all I
$100
have.
a month? And then it's on the other side, for the hardware side, having now, I find trouble managing just the number of outlets I have in my room: a Nexus 7, iPad, iPhone, and a camera.
Well, most people aren't going to have 2 tablets in reality.
Yes, but I'm saying a lot of people, like people in this room, have multiple tablets, multiple iOS tablets, and maybe even multiple phones.
But just putting a phone and a tablet on your nightstand is it's too much stuff.
Every device you buy taking up one power outlet is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we need chargers that have like 12 USB outlets.
It's just the memory management too, just the time management in terms of remembering to charge.
Well, and if you wake up and forgot to charge your phone, you have real problems the next day. Yeah. Do we want to talk about Surface disk space? This is an interesting story. So this 32 gigabyte storage, 32 gigabyte Surface.
Microsoft Surface.
Yeah, Microsoft says that it has about 16 gigs of free space, right?
Well, in the Reddit Ask Me Anything, when the Surface team did one of the questions brought up was, okay, how much space will I have if I buy free space for usable files and stuff will I have if I buy a 32 gigabyte Surface? And the Surface team member said 20 gigabytes about. Which you can understand because 32 gigs is not really 32 gigs.
It's really like 20,
it's
29.4,
it's
closer
to 30 because of the way bits and bytes convert. And of course there's the OS, and then of course Office is bundled. Office RT is bundled.
Right.
So with all the stuff installed, 20 gigabytes I think is reasonable, but it seems like Microsoft has changed their tune and saying that you really only can expect 16 gigabytes of storage.
I think this is outrageous, and I'll tell you why. And this is not just going to be a rant about Microsoft, but a broader idea that, first of all, I think most probably not the majority of like everyday consumers, but most tech savvy consumers understand that when your device says 32 gigabytes, that's not really what you're getting. A certain amount of space is going to be taken up by the OS.
Well, but
right?
the hard drive people got in trouble for this, though. I mean, there were class action lawsuits against hard drive manufacturers that resulted in them labeling their boxes in gigabytes and megabytes or whatever that is, the base 10 gigabytes instead of base 2 gigabytes.
So it's all in parentheses, terabyte hard drive, not actual,
It's not
right.
actually.
So this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
I think that again, most consumers understand that 32 gigabytes is I don't know what. Like for example,
I don't think
iPhone,
that people understand that. I think
on
that's
the iPhone,
problem.
I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there's probably like 5 or 6 gigs that are just for the OS, and it's not 32 gigs usable.
Right.
We get that.
I think I disagree with you on that even.
What?
I think that when my dad goes out and buys an iPad and it says 32 gigabytes, he thinks that means 32 gigabytes for me,
That's
not 32 gigabytes.
For movies and music and photos.
But I'm about to agree. This is where I'm going. 2 points. First of all, I think that at the very least, if you're going to say 32 gigabytes and some space, but with the caveat that some space is for the OS,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount you can take before you start pissing away the goodwill, and 50% is way over that line. Half of the space of what you're advertising is not usable. First of all, that's bullshit. Second of all, just on a broader range, I think that there should be a consumer law or something that says you have to either flat out state, you can only state what the actual usable space is, or you at least have to clearly state it. It has to say 32 gigabytes, and in text of the same size underneath, 25 actually user accessible. Like you're actually can have 25.
And same thing happens. I mean, laptops have had this problem for years. When OEMs sell a laptop and you see 250 gigs available on the laptop, but they partition 20 gigs for a backup and to be consumer friendly. So if you lose it, you can just go for that backup. So you only get maybe and with the change in base 10, base 8, you only get 200
and that's
gigs.
fine.
so-
by all means, do that, but have it be clear. Have the consumer understand what they're actually getting.
So Microsoft posted a FAQ about Surface Disk Space because there was an uproar. The 32 gig model, the total disk size is reported by Windows because of the binary to decimal change is 29 gigabytes. There's 5 gigabytes reserved for Windows recovery tools. Which means that the size of the hard disk reported by File Explorer is 24 gigabytes because there's a partition for recovery stuff, which I assume has the system image.
So
and all
basically,
that on
every
it.
single time they use a more accurate metric to figure out what's actually there, it keeps getting smaller.
Well,
and smaller.
this is the thing. This is why hard drive manufacturers got sued. Is because they were reporting decimal because that number is bigger than the base 10.
And so in this case, the 32 gigabyte number is a fantasy, right? It's
Just like it is with every hard drive you've ever bought.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's not just a Microsoft
Yeah.
problem. This is overall. It's just it's nonsense.
You
Well,
can
no,
solve this if you redesign the hardware so that you have storage for real storage and don't put your OS on that, and
Which is the way things
reduce your
used to work.
OS
I mean, that's the way
to
like
a manageable size because.
Yeah.
And have maybe some extra space and make that rewritable disk space, storage space, so that you can update firmware and update patches and
put
OS
a
versions.
piece of cheap flash memory on the motherboard that holds the OS. I mean, that's the solution.
Yes.
So then Windows RT, Microsoft Office, and built-in apps are another 8 gigabytes, which brings the free space reported by File Explorer to 16 gigabytes. And I don't think you can remove the Office stuff. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to try that.
And the problem is, I understand that it's user expandable. I had a lot of people have said, "Oh, we'll just plug in a micro SD card or whatever." Great, yeah, you can do that. But the reality is, unless you do that, 16 gigs these days ain't nothing.
Well, it just made when they're marketing it as, "Hey, you get twice the space as the equivalent priced iPad," it puts them in a little bit of a nebulous
You cannot
place.
have it
Well,
both
what
ways.
iPad 16 gigs? iPad Mini 16 gigs. What's actual?
It's 4 gigs
usual?
for the OS, pretty much. Right?
And
That's
I
from
think
memory.
this
It
should
could be
apply to
incorrect.
Apple as well. The 16 gig iPad Mini, let's say just for the sake of argument, that's 4 gigs for the OS. That should be marketed as either a 12 gig iPad or 16 gigs with a very clear thing underneath saying 12 gigs usable.
Or they should put 4 fucking more gigabytes of storage in and put the OS on that. I mean, that's the solution.
Right.
The solution is if we're going to do base 2 storage
Yeah,
amounts,
that's the third way.
Then put the amount of space on so that you have the slack.
Say very clearly 16 gig iPad.
Yeah.
But yeah, what they're not telling you is they've actually had to put 4 gigs in just to run the fucking thing.
Right. I mean, and I'm fine with that. Any of those are acceptable.
I think the first company that does a tablet with that was going to get a lot of press.
The problem is no one's, like you said, it's going to take
no
a
one's gonna
class
care
action
ultimately.
lawsuit or some kind of consumer legislation to make companies do that, because Apple and Microsoft, none of them on their own volition are going to be the first company to unilaterally say, well, we're going to do it the right way. Yeah.
No, that's true. I was a little surprised when it was 16 gigs. Like, you don't notice on the 64 gig model as much, but on the 32 gig model, it would be really apparent.
It's one thing maybe for
it's a cheap. The thing is, it's a cheap thing to put on the devices. It's not like flash memory is expensive.
And Leah has a 16 gig iPhone, and she wished she'd got the bigger one because it's all filled up with stuff. She has a 128 gig MacBook Air, and she wished she'd got the bigger one because it's all filled up with stuff. It's one thing to say 16 gigs on a phone. You can just barely get by. I got the 32 gig iPad mini because I'm like, 16, I just don't know. It's going to run out.
Well, if you look at your photo stream and you have 1,000 photos that you took with an iPhone 5 and you sync those to the mini, then that's 4 gigs.
Right
there.
And I don't like fretting about, space overhead, but on a computer, I mean, they're marketing, again, and the problem is it a tablet? Is it a computer? They're kind of marketing as a bit of both. Let's say, for example, okay, Microsoft, if you say it's a computer, basically, a 16 gig computer is a joke.
Well, but so these are teething pains. This is a problem. This is a problem with the transition from laptop computer, where instead of saying it's a 16 gigabyte laptop or 128 gigabyte laptop, they say it is a laptop with a 128 gigabyte hard drive, which is absolutely true. You don't complain that 4 gigabytes of that are reserved for the OS or 10 gigabytes of that or whatever are reserved for the OS, because you understand how that works.
Thanks, MP3 players.
Yeah, and that is a direct response to MP3 players and the way Apple's marketed iPhones and tablets.
Because back when 250 gig iPod, right, the OS, the firmware did not take more than a couple megs.
Well, and maybe it's a good thing, because I think the Surface, what's going on here in this uproar, is shining a light on this. Yeah, I don't mind it too. If you sell me a 500 gig hard drive and there's a couple of gigs used up for whatever memory management stuff needs to be on there, that's not a big deal. But if you sell me something and tell me half of what you sold me is
Gary's
not usable,
outraged.
That is bullshit.
Rage, Gary.
And I don't accept it.
It is happening with laptops, like with the Lenovo Yoga, which we'll talk about later. It comes with a 128 gigs SSD, only about 100's usable.
Yeah, well, and again, part of that's the binary change.
And I'm saying this is obviously it's a system.
No,
it's an industry-wide.
Oh, wow.
It's an industry-wide problem. This is the more I think about it, it's very going to catch up to me right up there with screen images simulated, which also needs to be banned, because that's bullshit as well.
Not only screen images simulated, but the response time of those.
Here's the thing.
Everything's simulated. Everything about what we're showing you is bullshit.
Here's the thing. I'm okay with them taking a capture and superimposing it on the screen as long as it's done in a responsible way with the screen images simulated.
Yeah.
What I detest are the artists.
I don't agree.
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's really hard to. I mean, we know how hard it is to shoot screens.
But here's the other thing.
In an advertising
this
light environment.
Is why. I think the best thing that I don't want to get political, but the best thing that Obama did, or one of the best things, I guess killing Bin Laden is probably the best thing. But
really,
for me,
you don't think giving health care to everybody in America is the best thing?
It's all. I think he did a lot of great things.
I mean, killing that one guy is pretty cool.
But one of the ones that doesn't often get talked about is passing really tough new consumer protection laws. And one of the things I would like to see them do is and again, I'll bash Apple here. Martin Scorsese in the back of his cab saying, "Siri, where's the restaurant?" That's all great. But you see when it says the experience has been shortened? It's bullshit. Siri responds instantly. What they're not showing is what Siri is really like, where you say, "Hey Siri, where's that restaurant?" I'm going to wait fucking 30 seconds.
Life. Yeah. The Malkovich ad is completely horseshit.
Yeah. Well, no, the Malkovich one is silly because he's just doing surreal things with it. But you see Scorsese actually trying to use it for useful things, and it's working flawlessly. He's getting instant responses. Siri's never questioning anything. I still have 50% of the time Siri either takes way too long to respond or has no idea what I'm asking her, and it's not good enough. Now, this is one of the reasons why Forstall was sacked.
And this is one of the things, going back to that Google iOS search, where Google has done an amazing job. I have 5 bars LTE right now.
Okay.
Hit that voice search. Now, Gary, I know people can't see it on the screen, but just watch on top of the screen.
Okay.
Where's the nearest Starbucks?
Starbucks is at 17.
Holy shit!
That is crazy fast.
It transcribed it and gave me the result.
That's better than Siri.
It is better than Siri.
I'm gonna get that. Is that just the Google app?
It's just the Google Voice app. It's
I'm
amazing.
I'm getting that app and putting it on my screen, on my page, first page.
What was the score for the World Series Game 4? Bam. Results.
See, this is the benefit that Google has, because they get all of the searches in the world.
It is.
They have a massive graph.
It is a
App
data
Store.
problem. for Apple, and it's one of the reasons that Maps for Apple is not great. Aside from again, data problem because they're using TomTom, but Google just has the database of searches. If you search something and you have a typo
it's this, right? Google search?
Yes.
Fucking getting it.
If you type something and you have a typo in, and you click something and there's an action afterward, that is user correction right there.
All of those, every link on a Google results page is click tracked. So they know what you click on. And when you go to even when you go to the page and then come right back, they say, hey, did you like that site? Do you want to block it? You can block that if you don't want to see that.
And one of the fundamental differences in Google search and Apple search, I mean, Apple now first diving into search with Maps, is that Google wants to give you a result no matter what. Apple will just get confused and will say, I don't know what you're talking about, be clearer. But Google, even if you are not clear, even if it's the wrong result, they want to give you a result. And more likely than not, statistics-wise, it is something that you're looking for.
I'm going to try it. I want to try it. Okay, what shall I ask?
Oh, no.
Why don't you think about what you want to ask first and then ask?
Okay, all right.
Ask about movies. Ask about actors.
Ask about me. See if you can distinguish me from the other Will Smith.
That's a Google thing, though.
Yeah, that's
see,
and
this
is
where
really going to confuse.
And
Google.
this is where it's not as good as Siri because it doesn't tap into your contacts and all the stuff that's built in iOS. It's only your Google account.
Right.
So if
that was just so fast, though.
Yeah. Think of something.
Okay.
Where can I get Thai food?
Okay.
Oh God.
Where can I get Thai food? Oh, why did it do that?
You don't even need to hit it again.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, close.
This is great podcast material.
Where can I get Thai food?
There are several lists.
Holy crap, that's so fast!
This
is Siri, we got to break up. I'm breaking up with Siri.
Google has eaten Siri's lunch.
Yeah.
Why can't Apple do that?
This is the thing that bums me out about the schism between Apple and Google.
Yeah.
Because when they launched the iPhone and Google was the favored partner and all this and the potential for these things to work in a way where Apple was making the hardware and Google was providing the services and it was a wonderful experience was there and now it's not. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's smart.
That's a revelation.
It's where it's taking the stuff they're doing with Google now on the Nexus.
Yeah.
And kind
Why
of
is
building
that
it
so
into
much
search.
better?
Because they have more data
Their
centers,
search-
their algorithms are better, and they have more data.
Millions
period.
of searches a second, Gary. And every single one of those tells them something about what people are looking for.
And it's not just. I mean, and if it doesn't understand your
accent,
not just your accent, but doesn't understand the structure of your question, your query, it'll just go to a straight Google search. It'll just transcribe and put it into a Google search.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let's talk about Hulu.
That's crazy.
So CBS finally, Hulu. Everybody knows what Hulu is.
Yep.
NBC and Fox several years ago launched a service to stream TV shows on the internet in an ad-supported manner for free, basically.
Yes, and one of the big holdouts was CBS because
they had their own thing.
they wanted to use CBS.com as a way for you to stream.
They bought
Big Bang Theory.
CNET because of TV.com, and TV.com is CBS.com. So yeah, so if you wanted to watch stuff on NBC or Fox for a long time, you could go to Hulu. If you want to watch ABC stuff, you had to go to ABC.com. If you want to watch CBS, you go to CBSTV.com.
But because ABC, NBC, and Fox had stakes in Hulu, they put all their content. That's why you could watch, Lost on Hulu. And for a long time, it was just, the most recent for NBC. It is still like the last 5 episodes or something, and get clips because that's what they assume people want. And it's a good alternative to YouTube because you get, at least. I think the ads on Hulu are still better than the ads on YouTube. And
the ads on Hulu, if you watch 4 shows in a row on Hulu, then you're going to kill yourself by the time you see the same 12 ads over and over again.
And that is a problem for the ad agencies just to produce more content. I mean, they should know that people, when they watch X number of ads, I mean, if the ads had a narrative and you watch part 1 before one episode and part 2 before another episode, that would be smart. But more recently, CBS has now had a deal with Hulu, signed a deal with Hulu. So Hulu Plus subscribers get access to CBS shows. And I think we're moving toward Hulu being more relevant. I don't subscribe to Hulu.
Is Hulu making a bit of a comeback? Because we were reading stories not too long ago about how they were in a lot of trouble financially.
So we subscribe to Hulu because
I do as well, but I don't really know why I do.
So I can use the Apple TV and TiVo apps on the TV because of the way TiVo lets you search across all the stuff that you subscribe to, it ends up being really useful if you weren't able to record a show or something that you wanted to watch.
Because that's part of the problem these days is like you want to find, like for example, I was looking for Homeland.
Yeah. That's
And-
impossible. That's not anywhere.
Right.
iTunes.
Right, but when I was looking for it, I realized that I've actually got to search 5 different services to see who might have it.
So
which is
TiVo
really a pain.
aggregates all of that stuff,
great.
and you can search on Xfinity, on the on-demand app, on Hulu. On it doesn't search Apple TV is the only thing, but Amazon On Demand and Hulu are both searched, which is quite nice.
Right.
And Vudu, if you.
I think I might have
subscribe
to get a TiVo box.
the that new thing with the stream is
Well, that too.
unbelievable.
Well, the thing is, the thing that was holding me back from getting a TiVo box was that you lose the on-demand programming, right?
Yeah.
But I can get that through the Xfinity app on Xbox or whatever. They have all the on-demand programming.
This is
Yes.
silly that we are talking about subscribing to 3+ video streaming services.
Well, it's
well,
silly,
if you-
but
in addition to
then-
paying
but
for cable.
it's never all going to be one service. So we just are going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Or
Xfinity, I guess Comcast, paying for Comcast, paying for cable, you get Xfinity. Then you're also paying for Netflix, then Hulu Plus, and also Amazon Prime.
So what's the TiVo box that I should get? Because I'm
And
thinking,
TiVo.
I'm thinking about
the
this
four get the 4-tuner one. There's a 4-tuner. You can get it with unlimited service for life on the box for like $800, which is a lot. Or you can pay $15 a month for the TiVo service. It's worth paying for
how
the
do you
unlimited
get,
price
is it
of the
a
box.
cable? Is it cable
You
card?
get a cable card.
And you're using Comcast for that?
Using Comcast.
And it works. It works.
I
good?
went to the Comcast place. They handed me the cable card for it. I plugged it in, called the number, and it was set up in like 15 minutes.
I think I'm going to buy.
and then-
I'm going to buy a TiVo today.
And then you get the app, so you can watch on your iPad, which is awesome.
where can I Google search? Where can I buy a TiVo?
So I was just about to do.
There's Best Buy down the street.
Where can I buy the new TiVo box? Oh, it goes Toolbox.
Is there a Best Buy down the
Where
street?
can I
You know,
buy
you
the
want
new
you
TiVo
probably want to
box?
buy the TiVo direct from them, so you can get the unlimited service. Because
Oh,
I think you
only
can't. Yeah, I
do that
think you
if
can't
buy
do that
direct
if you
from
get it
them?
retail.
Or I'm going to look it up when I get home.
Yeah, but get the stream at the same time.
Does it still do bloop bloop bloop?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, just like old times.
And just the general responsiveness of that DVR versus the one that goes with the cable company is magic.
Another crazy psychological
I'm getting
thing.
it. I'm
No
getting
matter
it.
how better TiVo boxes get, they will still add that delay in because it's what people are used to for fast forwarding and then
because the last
clicking
time the TiVo Premiere
pause.
box came out, I saw it like the interface was really sluggish.
They fixed that. The later versions are much better. And they also fixed the software. They built that whole new HD UI in Flash, which I think was their mistake.
I'm getting it. I'm excited about this.
And if you want to watch in multiple rooms, you just get 2 TiVos. You can play stuff off of different devices and everything, or you can stream with the Apple TV. Or the iPhone, iPad.
Right.
I don't know if you can AirPlay. I have to test that. I keep forgetting to. It's not a thing that comes up often. But I can lay in bed and watch TV now, which I've never been able to do before. It's kind of nice.
So this thing now, what does it I need to do if I want to stream any
You
live
get
TV
it's like
to
a
my
little
iPad?
box. It's like a little box that's basically like it looks like an Apple TV size thing.
Yeah.
You plug it into your router, so it just connects to the network.
Okay.
It doesn't. You don't want to. It's not wireless or anything like that. And then the app sees that thing and says, "Oh, okay, I can encode everything in a Wi-Fi friendly H.264 format that the iPhone and iPad can understand."
And this is something that TiVo sells.
They sell it for $120
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've got to plug it I've got to plug a wire into my router.
into your router. It comes with the wire,
I don't know if I have any free
power
Ethernet
and
ports
Ethernet.
though.
power, and Ethernet.
I may not have any free Ethernet.
it's an encoder box.
Yeah.
And
Well,
also-
it doesn't have to be. You can plug into any Ethernet port in your house.
but it uses your existing
Oh, I do
Wi-Fi
have one of
network.
those.
Yeah, like if you have an Ethernet port that's hooked into the network that's not being used for something else,
Okay.
or like a switch under your desk where your computer and your Mac are plugged in, but you can plug it in there.
right.
It doesn't matter where it is. It just has to be plugged into the wired network.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and literally laying in bed watching TV, you can watch live stuff. You have to start a recording for the live stuff to work, but that's no big deal because you have 800 gigs of space or something in the.
Oh, so I can't just surf
3
live
terabytes.
television. I have to be recording the show that I want to stream to the
Yeah,
box.
so you scroll through the guide, pick the show you want to watch, and then hit the button, and it says, "Oh, we have to record this. Is that okay?" And you say yes because you have 4 tuners, and who gives a fuck? Right? So you can record 4 things at once, Gary.
Oh, because I have to admit, I do hate when you try to record something that goes, I'm recording 3 other things right now. You have to fuck
Yeah.
off. I'm like, no, I want the 4th thing as well.
Right. I might want to watch this episode of Bewitched one day. It has Dick Sargent and Dick York.
Brilliant. I'm excited about
Norm
this.
is so sad.
I've discovered this and Google search in the same. This is a great day.
So why did CBS finally on board with Hulu?
I think they're realizing that not enough people watch stuff on CBS.com.
So this means I can watch
Okay.
Big Bang Theory now on Hulu.
yes.
Hulu Plus.
No. Actually, most of the CBS stuff. I don't know about Big Bang specifically, but most of it looks like it's catalog stuff. So it's stuff. It's the stuff that's
so they
on
don't
Netflix.
have like last week's episodes or whatever.
It's unclear.
Because that's part of what Hulu offers is like watch last week's shows.
So there's 2 big caveats. The CBS stuff is only available to Plus subscribers,
well, I have that.
and yeah, right, and it's mostly the catalog. It's mostly Star Trek and stuff like it's all a lot of the stuff that was part of the Netflix deal earlier last year.
So if you have Netflix, you probably already have
If
it.
you have Netflix, you already have it.
And who doesn't have Netflix?
Well, you should have Netflix.
You should have
although
Netflix.
the value of Netflix has gone down considerably for me in the last 6 months.
Why?
You run out of stuff to watch.
There's not as much good stuff. Yeah, I mean, the suggestions for me has been Thor and Friday Night Lights for the last 2 months.
There's still so much stuff on Netflix that I haven't watched yet.
I mean, I need to go back and rewatch A Boy and His Dog. It's such a weird
I've been
movie.
watching old G.I. Joes. I love it.
Well, you have a
Never
lot
get
more free
tired.
time than I do. I can't. Have you gotten to the one where they go to where they have to collect where he makes Serpentor?
No, the most recent one I watched was
That's
really
the best.
Good. It was where this evil, I guess Cobra or Destro owned a
Destro's the metal face guy, right?
yeah, owned a
Okay.
massive chain of fast food restaurants called like Rocket Burger or whatever, and you know, as part of it, they had like these big rocket models on
Yeah.
top. But G.I. Joe discovered that they were actual real rockets, and they had secretly seeded these rocket platforms all over America.
Oh my
and they had
God.
to take them out.
That's so insidious.
Yeah, evil plans.
My favorite is when Cobra Commander decides he's going to make the ultimate villain with all the villains of history, bits of Genghis Khan and
that's
like a
brilliant.
mummy.
But then wouldn't that villain be better than him?
That's what happened.
Oh,
Because it turns out
awesome.
Cobra Commander largely incompetent.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was like a 12-part arc or something. It seemed like, and it went over the summer. It was fantastic. It's the best GI Joe has to offer.
I have to look that up. I don't
Yeah.
think I've seen that one.
It's like the Rise of Serpentor or something like that. Isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Much as with the Transformers movie, it was an excuse to destroy a bunch of old toys and sell a bunch of new toys.
Was Hitler in there?
I don't think they went that deep, but I feel like they got like Genghis.
wanna
But you
expose
can't.
the
But
kid.
like the thing
You don't
is,
wanna
I
expose
understand
the kid to Hitler. They might
that's
like
the
his
thing.
mustache, his fashion.
That's the thing. I understand why you don't. Why you don't want to.
Would you have a Hitler mustache?
No, it's a Larry David.
It's a Larry
Oh.
David joke. I understand why you wouldn't want to use Hitler for a kids show, but at the same time, there is a bit of a glaring omission. If you're gonna create the ultimate villain from history, like Hitler has to be in the top 3.
Okay, so it's the ultimate leaders. It's not the ultimate villains. It is. They wanted to create a clone with the genius of Napoleon, the ruthlessness of Julius Caesar, the daring of Hannibal, and the shrewdness of Attila the Hun.
Wow, I like this.
Yeah. Shrewdness.
Why isn't Alexander the Great in there?
Maybe they couldn't find his tomb. Did they not know where Alexander? Didn't he die in India someplace?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I think we're past
I don't want to.
feasibility at this point.
I don't
I'm just
wanna-
saying Alexander the Great is pretty much the greatest military leader in general in all of history. So,
I'm gonna say that maybe the
I would say
dudes who were
Genghis Khan probably.
super stoned and writing GI Joe in 1984 probably didn't really think this out all the way, and we're like, shit, we got to get 12 episodes out this week.
That's a great writer's room, and I want to be a fly on the wall. And
Right, the everybody's high and writing GI Joe and Transformers.
I would want to see the dark version where it is like Hitler, Pol Pot, just Stalin,
you
just
know-
all the worst people.
Well, there's a second GI Joe movie coming out. You could probably get on board to write the third one. You could make
maybe-
that happen.
maybe I should.
Rise of Serpentor.
Yeah. Because that's what they often do, right? They take like the good
Yeah.
storylines from the originals and they find ways to redo them.
Dark third chapter.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, GI Joe loses in the Rise of Serpentor because they know it's happening and they try to stop it,
Right.
and it doesn't work out. And then Serpentor comes up and everything goes to shit.
Oh, I gotta
It's so
find this.
good.
I gotta find
It's
this
really
one
good.
again. It's a multiple episode arc.
I think it's like 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah, it seems like it went on for a really long time when I was like 10 years old.
So Cobra Commander.
It may have
creates
been
this-
Destro, but I think it was Cobra Commander.
But then it ends up usurping.
Yeah, well, he's like, get away. He essentially becomes Starscream at that point, which is only fitting. Since isn't Cobra Commander the voice? It's the same voice as Starscream?
Wait, which one is Starscream? Is that the boombox?
No,
No,
Starscream
that's
is the
Soundwave.
Yeah, Soundwave.
I never really understood the politics of the Decepticons because I never really watched the cartoon.
Starscream is Megatron's right-hand man who's also a toady. He's
Right,
like
but
always
Starscream-
trying to scheme above Megatron.
Right,
and then
Starscream is
Megatron
always trying
stomps
to like
him.
knock Megatron
Yeah,
off and be the.
but he's
leader
really
of the
bad at
Transformers,
it.
right? Yeah.
He's the Cobra Commander of Transformers.
always fails.
No,
Always
Cobra
last
Commander.
time.
No, he's the Destro, right?
Destro, I feel like, is pretty good.
But Cobra Commander is number 1. Destro is number 2.
Yeah, but Cobra Commander is largely incompetent, and Destro seems like it's reversed in Transformers. and Star
Destro's
Wars.
constantly thinking like, man, Cobra would be doing so much better if I was in charge.
Right. Megatron is always foiled by the incompetence of his minions, whereas Cobra Commander is foiled by the incompetence of his overall scheme.
See, I feel like that's something they should have made more out of in G.I. Joe. Like, is kind of
Yeah.
that, the Destro kind of trying to topple
Pull the
Cobra
strings?
rather than just constantly being his toady.
Well, you couldn't do that. Yeah. There you go. Real issues solved
right.
on This Is Only a Test. Instagram pushed user profiles live. So you can make an internet page for you.
It's automatically made. If you have
I
an
heard about
Instagram
that.
account, it's already live today.
Wow, so you could go to Instagram.com/users/Will Smith and I'll
Nope.
be there?
I just use,
Instagram.com/Will Smith. You
I
don't
just
even need
use,
users.
Webstagram.
Wow.
I guess this is
Yeah,
gonna
so
be better.
there were services like Ramfeed and stuff that kind of aggregated stuff, and Instagram is largely before they were bought by Facebook. They wanted to pull away from a web presence. They just wanted you to use the app because that's
Right.
how people would share stuff, and it was actually a lot of the network benefits came from it being solely on an app. And,
Right.
on the web, you could, I guess, link to certain images and see comments and stuff, but never a real user profile. But now that they've been wholly owned by Facebook for $715 million. They've launched profiles for everyone.
I post a
Why
lot
is it
of
only
pictures
so?
of
I thought it was
dogs.
$1 billion.
Facebook stock went down.
So the value of
because it was paid in stock. It's actually
Part stock, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So this is why you asked for cash.
the Instagram has gone down in value. Because the Instagram for a while was
It's no longer $1 billion sale.
$1 billion sale.
Ah,
Yeah, no 4 Instagrams.
the value of investments can go down as well as up.
What? I was not made aware of this.
Let's talk about the Apple apology thing. This was funny. It's HTML5 used for evil.
First of all, I won't go back to Instagram. Instagram was worth a fourth of Lucasfilm.
It was never
Star Wars.
It was
Lucas
it
is
was never
devalued.
it was never really worth that much. It was massively over, and that just goes to show what a massive. Well, first of all, it seems like Disney got a fucking great deal.
Yeah.
and I think Facebook way overpaid on Instagram. So you put the two together, and that's why it seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Do you feel like excitement for Star Wars has risen just
Oh,
past
absolutely.
week? Like, I think books are probably selling better. The official blog.
I think so. I think people are excited about a new life for Star Wars. Who wouldn't be?
It's not just for kids anymore.
And again, it's sad that we've come to this point, but I think people are excited about the fact that Lucas is not really going to be that involved.
No, I'm excited. Yeah, I think that's the best part of the whole thing is that there's no opportunity for him to fuck that up.
It's time to break out that all your old merch and hit the eBays.
But man, who would want that job? Fucking hell.
Matthew Vaughn wants that job. I don't think he's the guy for it, though.
You think about who you'd want, and I mean, Joss Whedon is the obvious one. He's out because of Avengers. Yep. Brad Bird, I would take a Brad Bird.
Yeah,
Star
we've
Wars
seen all the
Yeah.
typical names. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
I just want more Star Wars that doesn't suck ass. The Apple apology in the UK code. So as part of a lawsuit with Apple and Samsung, Apple had to apologize for saying they had to apologize for saying that the Samsung ripped off the iPad.
I think it was the iPad.
Yeah.
Didn't they just have to state that a court had decided
Their
that
initial
they, in
apology
fact,
was
had
not good
ripped them
enough.
off?
It was an
No,
unapology.
it was a very mealy-mouthed apology.
It's on apple.co.uk still if you want to go see. And the thing that they did that's really funny is they set the image so no matter what resolution you're running your browser in, you have to scroll down to see the apology. So the image resizes automatically. I'm not sure if they did this specifically because of this.
Yeah.
Or because, it just happened to be a happy coincidence.
It's interesting because oftentimes, like in cases of newspapers and the media, when they often have rules and laws or judgments that say that when you have to retract or apologize for an incorrect story, that it has to have a certain amount of prominence. You can't just bury it.
Yeah, you can't put it on page 13 of
I
section
think in the
G.
UK there's either a law or it's often used that the apology has to be as prominent as the original story was. So if you fuck someone over on the front page and it's a lie, like there was a newspaper in the UK that ran a big lie story about, I think it was Elton John, on their front page.
Oh, I remember
And when
that,
they
yeah.
apologized, they had to apologize on the front page.
And the headline had to be the same
libel
prominence and all that stuff.
in the UK is taken way more seriously.
Yeah, and libel in the UK has kind of gotten a little bit out of control. But yeah, it's serious business.
So here's the official apology. On July 9th, 2012, the High Court of Justice of England and Wales ruled that Samsung Electronic UK Limited's Galaxy tablet computers, namely the Galaxy Tab 10.1, 8.9, and Tab 10 7.7, do not infringe Apple's community registered design number, blah, 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 blah. A copy of the full judgment of the High Court is available from here. And then there's no apology, actually. I think that's the apology.
Well, was it stated that it had to be that they had to say sorry, or did they just have to kind of state the facts?
Well, so on the homepage right now, it says on October 25th, 2012, Apple published a statement on its UK website in relation to Samsung's Galaxy tablet computers. The statement was inaccurate and did not comply with the order of the Court of Appeal of England and Wales. The correct statement is at this URL, and that's what I just read. So it's a real weird thing all around. But I thought it was funny that the image resized.
Again,
so
you know, I sure, obviously Apple doesn't want to. They want to kind of get away with it as quietly as they can, which is why they made you scroll down. Again, legally, you've got to state this stuff. If you don't want it to make you scroll down, you've got to say in the judgment, and this needs to be on the front page with no scrolling or any bullshit. It's got to be easily readable. It needs to be right there. Otherwise, they'll find a way to get around it.
Yep.
Which is why they needed this second judgment.
They should provide. But what I think the solution to this is that the apology should have been required to be an animated GIF form.
GIF.
Oh no.
Really? We're going to do this?
No, we're not. We're not.
I don't want to do it. I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. So like you have to have a picture of a walrus or a dog or something really cute, and then some big block letters that say, "We are apples, we are wrongs, blah, blah, blah." And then it's all spelled wrong and funny. I think that's what they should have done. If I was a lawyer, that's what I would have requested.
Right.
Norm, do you want to talk about the Terminator arm prosthetic?
Yeah, did you see this?
Can you crush marble with your hand if you have this thing?
You cannot. It only has 31 pounds of squeeze, I guess, pressure.
I want to sue. Okay, tell the story, and then we'll discuss, because it's an interesting story.
So prosthetics are getting way more advanced these days, and a company in the UK has now released one in September that's $35,000, but it looks awesome.
Is it actually molded on the Terminator arm?
It is not, but it's made of carbon fiber.
They should license that, because that would be awesome.
It looks really close, actually.
Okay.
And there are 8 different grips that you can do. It's done using, I mean, for people who have their arms amputated, they can still move muscles in their upper arm. And so it recognizes electrical signals from people flexing their muscles. And you can do basically 8 grips out of 14 different possible grips you can program in.
Wow.
And it can carry like 100 pounds.
So you can carry a suitcase and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think you could, whack off?
That would be very dangerous. In that case, maybe 31
pressure?
pounds. Maybe only 31 pounds of pressure is
because that'd be like the Stranger.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Robo Stranger.
No.
Wow. I hadn't even considered that. Oh, you could see that's really turning a limitation into a pro.
I'm always making lemons out of lemonade or something. Yes.
Oh, wow. I think that'd be really scary. I don't think I want a robot masturbator.
You say that now.
I'm pretty sure I'm good. I'm comfortable doing things the old-fashioned way.
See, you're all excited about where laser printing 3D printing is going in the future. Why can't you be as forward thinking about this?
Norm is horrified right now.
No, this is
You
not
made
where I
Norm
wanted to take
blush.
this conversation.
Well,
this conversation is not going anywhere good.
I mean, I'm not one to not take advantage of the stranger if I happen to sleep on the wrong side. Or
Wait,
something,
what?
you
No,
know?
I don't need
What?
any personal anecdotes.
I mean, you're the one who started this. You brought this on yourself.
Let's move on to what we're testing.
See, it was fine up until that point.
Do you want to talk about? Hold on. So,
Wow.
this is a step toward super strong robot arms, right?
I think they're not super strong yet because the motors need to be small enough that they can still fit in the
And
arm
do you have to
body.
carry like an extra battery pack, or is that all
Batteries
integrated in
built
the arms as
all
well?
Integrated, yeah. I'm sure they could charge it.
I mean, I guess the problem is what part of the arm is this? Just for forearm, or is this
Forearm, including hand.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think many of the amputations are at that point.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of times is happening now because of the places that people can fit prosthetic limbs affect or change based on where the amputation happens. People are choosing to lose more of their leg, maybe because then it makes the prosthetic fitting a lot easier.
I'd like to hear, and I'd like to know more about this because it's a field I know that affects and is relevant to a very small percentage of the population, but it dramatically changes.
Well, thanks to the Iraq War and
ease of life
the improvised explosive devices, we have a lot more amputees than we did 20 years ago. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening, a lot of cool technology happening there. I wonder when we're going to hit the point where actually the arms are stronger than the stuff you're connecting to. The prosthetics are stronger, so that you actually have to dial back the strength of the prosthetic so that you don't actually break the person's arm. When they try to lift something or
I
do
could see
something like that.
Foreseeable future.
I mean, if you look at the kind of motors that like Jamie and Adam are using for different stuff now, you can get crazy torque on a real low power.
It could be like RoboCop 3.
Oh, hold on.
Switch
I never
out the
saw
robot
RoboCop
arm
3.
and then put in the gun.
What? Wait, what?
RoboCop 3 had an interchangeable arm. It could be either his hand.
So the gun didn't come out of his leg anymore?
He had a gun that came out of his leg, but he also had a arm cannon, machine gun arm cannon that he could swap out in his car.
Why would he not do that on the left hand instead of the right hand? So then he can have the pistol and then the machine gun on the left arm.
Maybe it was left hand.
Okay.
It just looked really cool.
I didn't know there was a RoboCop 3.
Yeah.
Was it made for TV or something?
No, it was
Direct to video?
It was about
But
Detroit. It was about the big corporation OCP trying to move people out of their homes.
That series was well in the dumpster by that point.
So, I mean, if you look at
It
Detroit,
wasn't even Peter Weller, was it?
when
It
did
was
the,
not Peter Weller.
Yeah, it was someone else playing.
when did
RoboCop.
the first RoboCop came out in what, like 1988?
87 or 88.
Detroit is still really bad.
It's worse now.
I think that maybe OCP wasn't a dystopian future. Maybe it was the good future for Detroit
I mean,
was
I
always
think
dystopian
Delta
future.
City actually sounded pretty good.
compared to what they have today.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
That's why the new RoboCop is going to be a little more relevant.
Sorry, Detroit. Detroit's really nice. I mean, I know a lot of really nice
Are
people
they still
from
working on
Detroit.
that statue?
The RoboCop statue,
I think so. I mean, it was fully funded, so they better be.
Yeah.
Kickstarter.
I can't remember if it was a Kickstarter or not. I think it was done. I think it was actually pre-Kickstarter.
Kickstarter explosion.
LED light bulbs. Do you want to talk about this? The LifeX guys had a Kickstarter that they cut short early. We bought into it because I wanted to see what the Wi-Fi programmable light bulbs are like. But there's a little bit of controversy about it, and that turns out they're one of the reasons that Kickstarter changed the rules. Meanwhile,
the Philips Hue is
Philips, like the TV Philips.
yes, they are. They have a whole lighting department. You could buy regular CFCs and other lights from them, and LED lights that aren't programmable. But now we have these smart lights, and you can buy a pack of 3 for $300
That is a lot of money for a light bulb.
at the Apple Store.
So have you bought them?
They are sold out everywhere.
Oh, wow. I've been going through, so I went through the CFL replacement about 5 years ago, and some of those have started to kind of conk out, and also they suck. Like CFLs are any place you want a dimmer, they're bad.
Yes, because they cannot dim.
Well, you can get dimmable CFLs, but they're terrible. You know, they draw too much power and they trip the circuit all the time and bad things. So I've been switching some of those to LEDs because LEDs have gotten to the point that they're not. I mean, they're still expensive, way more expensive than CFLs, but they're not $40 a bulb anymore, which is what they were a year ago.
$25 a bulb, maybe $20.
No,
if
you
you're
can get
cheap.
$9 if you're just looking for a bulb replacement. You can get $9 Philips LED bulbs right now at Lowe's if you buy a 3-pack.
I am so wary of LED bulb technology since there's so many different designs out right now. I would wait a year.
Well, so the problem. So I like I said, I went out and bought a bunch of bulbs. We'll kind of do a gentle transition into what we're testing. On places, the one thing that's a huge benefit is you can put them in places where the bulbs are exposed. So like the lights above my vanity, which have been incandescent for the last 5 years, are because the bulbs are exposed. There's no cover over them or anything like that, and you can't put those frosted glasses with the CFL tubes inside them in there. The LED bulb just looks like a normal bulb, and it goes there. It's dimmable, the whole 9 yards. Fantastic, absolutely love it. I also have some for like the recessed lights in the kitchen and all that. I'm trying them out gradually, and it's a nice change.
Yeah,
it's a little bluer light in a lot of cases, which I may or may not like.
Just late breaking. Mitt Romney has conceded Florida.
Oh, there we go. Let's take a break and talk about what we've been testing. iPad Mini is what I've been testing. I like that.
our
iPad
iPad
Mini.
Mini quick look went up today, and man, a lot of people hate Apple.
Yeah, it's funny because
A lot of people hate Apple.
we posted the Surface Quick Look yesterday, and it got like 6 comments.
No, more
It
than-
ended up getting more, but like early on, nobody was like, "You guys are really fucking. You are assholes because you
6
hate
negative.
Windows."
You mean negative?
Yeah.
More people hate Apple than people who come to Microsoft defense, and we were really hard on the Surface.
The Surface is bad.
Yeah.
We talked about it at length last week. I don't want to get into it anymore. Do not buy a Surface RT.
Yeah,
It's really straightforward.
the iPad Mini, which Gary had no intention on buying when it was announced.
Yeah.
And now both of you are fully converted over to the iPad Mini.
Yeah, I since we recorded that quick look a few days ago, I've thought about it a lot more, and I went back and I used the iPad 3 a little bit more, and I'm switching. I'm getting rid of it.
It really seems like one of those things. It is definitely a first gen device in that category for Apple's category, not just small tablets, because there have been plenty of small tablets. Samsung 7.7 is basically the same weight and size as the iPad Mini. What they do differently is 4x3 versus 16:9, and this is how they can get away with saying that the 7.9-inch screen is 40% bigger than a 7-inch 16:9 because it's closer to a square, so you actually get more area on that type of screen than you would a 7-inch screen because it's more square-like.
Yeah.
Which is better for web browsing.
26 versus 22 square inches.
And you can do, you can do it in landscape mode and web browse. And web browsing landscape on 4:3 is much easier than web browsing landscape on 16:9, like on the Nexus 7. I do not. Nexus 7, even though right now with new Android, you can use it in landscape, I don't use it in landscape.
I never use it in landscape.
Except for video,
Yeah.
which automatically switches in landscape. Mini really, I don't think talks about screen size. Mini, when they say iPad Mini, it really denotes weight and physical size.
I mean, the difference for me, for the way I use a tablet, which is, I mean, I am not a video consumer, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I browse the web, I use Twitter, I use Facebook, I play occasional games, but it is a way for me to stay on the internet while I'm sitting in a room that is not an internet use room. I mean, that's what I use the computer. That's what I use it for. I watch an occasional YouTube video, but I very rarely fire up Netflix or something like that or iTunes and watch a real full-length movie on a tablet.
Here's my question. I think that I'm pretty confident in saying that iPad Mini will sell very well.
They're going to sell a shitload of them, yeah.
Not only this generation, but next generation, if they can somehow put in and catch up in terms of the processor and not have to, cut back on the processor and actually put in that Retina screen, which would be incredible, and keep it the same price, which would be even more incredible. It's going to be a new standard for iPad.
It's going to be. I don't think Apple releases like breakdowns of like what SKUs are doing what, but because they announced they sold 3 million iPads since Friday, but they didn't tell you what were minis and what were the new generation.
We'll find that out at the next press conference, I'm sure.
But I do think that given the cheaper, given it's the entry level price point, it's cheaper, and people just seem to really like it, and they're really responding to the new size. That it's going to be the new best.
It's kind of like
it's going to be the leading iPad.
It's going to be like the MacBook. There's no more MacBook.
Yeah.
It's MacBook Air or Pro. Just like there's going to be no more iPad, it's going to be the iPad Mini. And I think their best-selling MacBook is going to be, right now, it's still the MacBook Air 13-inch,
Yeah,
I think.
it probably is.
No, I think it's the 13-inch MacBook Pro is what they said when they announced the Retina one.
Right, which it's not going to be the
longer
case
exists,
anymore because that's they jacked up the price for that. The iPad Mini in a year or two will be the best-selling iPad.
I think
And
that's going to
really,
happen faster than that, honestly.
if they can get the Retina and keep the price the same.
So after
There's
using
been
it,
a lot of discussion about how long it's going to take to actually get Retina in there, given all the challenges they would have to overcome. With
can't happen
cost.
soon enough.
Right.
So
But
here were
a lot of people have you tweeted something about this. A lot of people have just assumed that next year it'll have Retina.
So let's talk about the challenges specifically. From a technical standpoint, it is putting what is essentially 4 iPad 5 screens, iPhone 5 screens, I'm sorry, within the panel of a 7.8-inch panel. Same type of panel, same pixel density.
You're saying that resolution. It's a
PPI.
It's a screen that is 4 times the size of an iPhone 5 screen.
Yes.
At the same resolution, same screen otherwise, more or less.
More or less, because it would be 2056 by
Right.
1024 or 1536.
Doesn't close enough.
Yeah. That is expensive. So cost. Having a battery that can, having a battery, because not only do you need the battery to have to power the lights for the LCD,
You have to have a brighter backlight.
A brighter backlight. You also need a faster processor to push out 4 times as many pixels.
Right.
It's how they get away with A5 on the iPad Mini, but now we have an A6X on the iPad 4 because you need twice as many cores on the GPU to run
more processing
power for games to run natively. And more processing power, bigger processor, more beefier processor means you need more battery also.
Yes.
Getting all of that in that body that we have now, because they're not going to make it way more, the iPad Mini, or
If they didn't
make it
increase
thicker.
the price on the iPad when they added the Retina display, they're not going to increase the price on the iPad Mini.
No iOS device has moved from one generation to the next with a price increase for the same size SKU.
Right.
Only the MacBooks have done that with the MacBook Pro.
Right. So once they've established the price, they have to stay there.
With iOS, and that is traditionally.
So they have issues with battery consumption. They have issues with cost. They have issues with the
And this-
CPU that will drive
So-
it.
And this then makes sense. This explains partially why the price is $330, because price can only, for them, stay level, neither go down nor up.
Here's the thing that Apple has done really well over the last 10 years is that they've ridden the supply curve. So they've invested very well in driving the cost of new technologies down so that they can exploit them and I use exploit in the Bobby Kotick positive sense of the word, to enable what would previously have been impossible. So we saw this with the phone. They launched the smallest screen that they sell, with a higher PPI screen than was otherwise available. And then they brought it up to a next larger size device and so on. They're going to get a Retina screen in this device, whether it's next year or the year after. It doesn't matter. The question right now is the screen in this device good enough to use? And are you making a mistake by going with this over a higher resolution, better gamut screen in the iPhone 3?
I
and
definitely,
the iPad 3?
as someone who's been spoiled by now three generations of iPhone now have had Retina.
Yeah,
and now 2 generations of iPad. So a lot of us are used to Retina, and we love it. When I first looked at my first response when I saw it was actually, because a lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't look as good." I was like, "Actually, it looks pretty good to me." If I'm reading like the New York Times or Kindle, anything with a lot of text, yeah, it's noticeable.
the text is fuzzier.
What's happened is we've become so spoiled by Retina, and it's not to say that we don't have a right to expect it, but yeah, Retina is so amazing that when you come back down off it, it's like, oh, it is a little bit jarring. But for photos still look great, video still looks great. Anything with visuals, pictures looks fantastic. Text is a little bit of a step down.
The difference,
but it's still totally livable.
For me, I'd rather have a screen that has the NTSC, the full gamut, than the higher resolution
and the optical bonding.
Yeah,
if it was 1020
yeah.
4x768, but had the same color depth, black reflectiveness, and the distance between the LCD and the glass as the iPhone 5, I think that would be much more acceptable than it is on the iPad Mini right now. Why does the iPad 2 still exist at $399?
I think that they think that there's probably still a market for it.
They'll probably phase it out.
$70 more than the iPad Mini with the same hardware. The iPad Mini is actually, in all respects,
I
better.
bet that's the best margin thing that they sell in the iPad line right now.
I don't know. I suspect that next year you'll see it go away.
Well, because here's the thing: if the iPad Mini sells well, I'd say you're probably right. I think that's a no-brainer.
If iPad 2 continues to sell really, really well for them, I don't think they'll.
The other thing is, if you're looking at something that's an education play, if you're trying to put this into schools to replace textbooks, then it makes sense.
Because textbooks
because
need to
it's cheap,
the bigger screen.
You can put a big chunky case on it, and it'll be safe for 10-year-olds to carry around.
And they do see education as a big part of this product.
And the experience reading a magazine on the Mini is not good. I'm comfortable with that because I don't read magazines on the tablet. But if you were reading magazines on the tablet, you probably should get the Retina.
Students needing to annotate or doodle or do things that innately benefit when you have a physically larger screen. You're not going to buy iPad 4s for them.
So the thing I will say is that the Mini is definitely much more of a consumption device than I can't imagine taking the Mini and a keyboard on a trip and using it to write and file stories and stuff like that.
Although having said that, the touch keyboard on the Mini is much more typeable than on the full size.
Oh, I completely disagree.
Typeable from 2 hands, 1 hand? How are you holding it?
Both.
Holding it in portrait, I thumb type like a giant phone, and that I found was okay.
Yeah.
Trying to touch type with it in landscape mode, I thought was much more difficult than the full size iPad.
Well, I would never type on it in landscape mode.
Well,
and even typing in portrait mode on a phone, I use 1 hand to type. I never use 2 hands to type.
Oh, see, I use 2 hands to type on the phone.
What if you're driving? I'm kidding.
Don't type and drive, Chan. You're going to kill us all.
So no, it's great. I remember when Norm first came over and showed me the Nexus 7, I was like, man, I'm a believer in this form factor now. If Apple can make an iPad around this size and weight, I'm going to be all over it. And they did exactly that, and I love it. Leah, she wasn't excited at first, but I think she saw it and was like, I could use that. So we got her one as well.
It absolutely makes sense now why they did not sell a ton of these on the first weekend.
It's going to be it's going to be Apple's best-selling products over the holidays. It will probably, it's used to be the iPod Touch, but now I think the iPad Mini is going to supplant that as like, this is the premium gift item for the holidays.
As somebody who doesn't exercise very much, if somebody was giving me a gift and they were spending $300 on an iPad Touch, I'd much rather have the extra $30 and get the iPad.
You give them $30 and say, give me an iPad Mini instead.
I would take it back and get the iPad Mini.
But again, there's a reason why both products exist. They're different use cases.
Yeah. Performance is pretty good. I found it's not. I haven't been smacked in the face by bad performance. I've been mostly playing games like Letterpress though, so I think gaming is probably the only place you would notice bad performance.
A lot of people have said they really noticed the difference from the 3rd gen to 4th gen iPad. Part of the reason why I felt like I didn't need the 4th gen is I don't really play. I don't really do a lot of like.
You're not playing
high-
Infinity Blade.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really just using it as for reading magazines and doing basic things on it. So it was always more than fast enough for me. If you are playing Sky Gamblers or Infinity Blade or whatever, then yeah, or doing like really high end 3D stuff on it.
Sky gambling.
You can't really win money, Norm. It's not the same. Anything else on the Mini, or are we ready to move on?
I think we're ready to move on.
The last thing I would say is that the bezel stuff, I was worried about the thin bezel, and the thumb detection is pretty good.
By the way, just anecdotally, it's interesting. The first day it came out, remember there wasn't that long a line.
No.
But then we went back on Saturday trying to get Leah one, and the store was packed out. And it wasn't until we went around a lot of Apple stores before we finally found one the 16 gig ones go first because people want the cheap model.
And I think again, it is one of those things where word of mouth and people going in Apple stores and actually using them, and one of the benefits of having Apple stores where people can use them as opposed to just seeing the pictures and watching the video.
More so than any Apple product I've ever seen, because a few people have asked me, like I was visiting a friend yesterday and they hadn't seen it. And I said, well, there you go. And more than any other product I've seen, including Apple products, people go, oh shit, this is
No,
really
I would
good.
say iPhone 4 with the first Retina screen.
Yeah, maybe so.
The thing about
And also on the 5, people were really amazed how light it was when they first picked that up.
the thing about 7-inch tablets in general is you can hold them one-handed like you would a paperback book or a magazine, and you can't do that with a 10-inch tablet.
Well, that's the thing. So Leah, right, like Leah spends a lot of time like on the couch, spending time with the
baby in one hand, and
she's like, this is the perfect baby iPad. Because like she would usually have like either a MacBook and she's trying to like balance that on the couch, or the old iPad again, like you say, is just kind of too heavy for one-handed like comfortable use. But this thing is just super easy.
Staking their claim on 4x3 while everyone's doing 16x9 or 16x10 is going to be a big differentiator when it comes down to choosing a 7-inch tablet.
Yeah, 16:9. I like if you watch a bunch of videos, 16:9 makes a ton of sense. I do more reading, and I like. For web browsing, I like 4x3 better. Although, like you said, I do find myself using it a lot more in landscape mode than in portrait than previous
Kindle
iPads.
Fire, what is it? Or not Kindle Fire, I'm sorry. Kindle Paperwhite. Is that 4x3 or 16x9?
It's kind of in between.
Can you imagine at this point someone came to you and said, I'm interested in a tablet of that size. Is there any reason why you would recommend something other than a Mini, like a Kindle Fire or a Nexus 7?
Absolutely, $200.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's true.
$130
People don't want to spend a
cheaper.
lot of money, yeah.
Not only that, but $200. And if they're just using it for email and calendar and web browsing, and don't need the latest.
Well, if they're in the
letterpress
Google
games,
ecosystem and they're using it for email, web browsing, and
everyone is
calendar.
in the Google ecosystem. Everyone
you
uses
say that,
Gmail.
but that's not the case.
Everyone uses Google Docs, and Google Docs and Gmail much better. Google Calendar so much better on Nexus 7 than any iOS.
If you
device.
don't use Google Docs and Google Calendar, Norman's email address is norman@tested.com. Yeah.
go have fun with Outlook.com.
Yeah. Norm, you've been using the Yoga.
The Lenovo Yoga, and this is a laptop that Gary, you mentioned that I brought over.
He alluded to it.
The Lenovo
yeah.
Yoga, which we first saw at CES, and we've kind of gone back and forth on it. We really were excited about it at CES because it was one of the first Windows 8 devices we saw. And back then Ivy Bridge wasn't even announced yet, hadn't come out yet, and we're kind of down on it once we realized, thinking about whether we want to carry a 3.3-inch.
I guess they call it the
tablet.
Yoga because you can bend it into all kinds of crazy positions, right?
Exactly, poses, Gary.
Yeah, they're poses.
has-
Call them poses.
Yeah.
That's
now-
a little
And
precious.
now downward dog.
Okay.
See, I actually know a yoga pose.
That's good.
I did P90.
Did you do baby yoga, prenatal yoga?
No.
Okay.
Are you doing that?
Fuck no. I'm not. Gina might be. I don't know.
The Yoga is a laptop. It's a laptop.
It's an
that-
x86 laptop.
It is a
It's a
ultrabook.
real PC.
It is an ultrabook.
Right.
It meets all the Intel ultrabook requirements. Even though it has a touchscreen, it is as small as an ultrabook without a touchscreen.
The
And,
screen's a little bit thicker, but it doesn't matter. It's not noticeably. It's
is-
not an important amount thicker.
I handed it to a bunch of people who have, because not everyone has a MacBook Air, or spoiled by that, who use traditional laptops. Dell's. ThinkPads, and they thought it was
Yeah, if you're not
thin
coming
and
from a
light.
MacBook Air, it's going to seem really.
Even if you're coming from
compared
a-
to like regular
Well, yeah.
laptops, it's going to seem really.
If you're coming
impressive.
from a MacBook Pro 13-inch, this is going to seem thin and light.
not
and-
necessarily the new one.
I have not used a new one yet. It is a great ultrabook. It has Intel 4000 graphics, so you're not going to be playing more than
Yeah.
You can play FTL like
Really
crazy.
You can
really
do-
nice build quality, nice display.
So I use it as a laptop. Plug a mouse in. I don't like the trackpad, but you know what? I touch the screen. I
Yeah.
touch the screen to browse the web. And
And I really like the way that you can kind of bend it backwards.
so here's the best part about using it on the couch, because on the couch I have my phone because it's light, but I can't use the iPad on the couch because I fold up the cover and use the stand weight, but it doesn't sit on my lap. It doesn't prop up.
Right.
With the Yoga, I flip it backwards so the keyboard becomes the stand.
Yeah, it becomes
and
like
it's
an
at
easel.
It's an easel. It's a 45-degree angle, and I
Yeah.
can have it on my lap, and I can touch the screen to use my Twitters.
I like it.
Use my Gmail, and pinch to zoom in IE10 for web browsing is wonderful.
I gotta say, when I
pinch to browse
first
on
saw the
desktop
Surface,
is amazing.
when I first saw the Surface, I really liked the concept of it, and now that the cracks have started to show in the actual reality of it, and also what's more interesting, what I love right now about Windows 8 is that laptops have become so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Like laptop, there's all these kind of weird and wacky, innovative laptop designs out there. Like there's one that I saw where you close it and the top of the lid becomes the screen. There's one that's got like a swivel thing, like the touch, because Windows 8
Stuff's
actually
getting
seems-
crazy, and
Windows
like the
actually
good
seems
stuff
to
will filter
really
up.
employ touch in a
Yeah.
viable way. That tablet makers have found really interesting ways to redesign laptops around that, and there's some really interesting designs. And this Lenovo one is great.
So, are you using primarily in the modern interface, or
I'm
are you
using
primarily on the desktop?
Primarily desktop, but I do use, because with the desktop, which is considered like one of the modern apps, I do slide in a 330 pixel email.
Okay.
For email using Windows
You're
Mail.
that dialed into
And the
email.
other thing that you showed me that I really liked is how you can even slide in different desktop windows from the side.
Yeah, you can, if you are in if you are in a Metro app,
Yeah.
like for example, if I'm using just a sports app and just want to follow scores, I can slide in desktop on the side and just get a list of my
like a
windows.
Chrome window. Oh, okay.
It becomes a tiled list of my windows, so I can swap quickly to a real web browser.
On the laptop, I can see that. When I use Windows 8 on the real computer at home with the big monitor, I never ever use the 1/3
because you
split
don't
because it
touch.
takes way too much space.
And you don't touch.
And I don't touch.
Like
yeah.
if I have email in the 330 pixel on one side and something pops up, I can quickly tap and delete or tap and reply and bring it full screen.
You shouldn't be spending that much time on email when you're not at work, Norm.
I am on email nonstop. I have inbox zero. I've been in inbox zero for like 3 years.
Really?
Who are you emailing?
We get a lot of
I get a
email.
lot. I also am really bad about getting off email lists. I just let it flow.
Oh, really?
I let it come.
I
and
just make rules
and I just
straight to the
I
trash.
manually delete. I get excited. The email buzz. Like, oh, I wake up. Oh, 26 emails. Okay, I'll delete like 25.
We
of
should
them.
really do the camping trip with no internet for Norm. It would
It
destroy
seems like
him.
he would be the first to crack, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm fine. I can
Oh, we
turn off
should
for 2
do the
weeks.
thing where you have the cell phone stacked on at a dinner table, face down, and the first person at a restaurant, and the first person to grab their cell phone has to pay the bill.
Do you do this?
Oh, that's
This is a good idea.
That's
I'd
good.
never have to pay dinner
I think Norm
again.
would be like, "Fuck it, I'm paying it. It's
no,
worth
no.
every penny."
Worth it, yeah.
I think BlackBerry users would be the worst because
I would get like the lobster and everything, knowing that
Norm's really
going
cheap.
to wind up
The-
paying
I mean, the
for
thing
it.
is,
indicator
there's competing things going on here, though, too.
You know what I would do? I would have a friend send lots of @Will Smith messages or send emails or phone calls.
I don't
so
have
your phone's
notifications
buzzing.
for any of that shit on.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
See,
I would,
text
I
messages.
would,
You can't
I would
cheat.
turn all the notifications
See
off.
that's cheating.
Well, what if you have them off default?
Sleep mode, do not disturb mode is cheating. It needs to be vibrating on the table, flashing, doing all sorts of stuff.
Dude, I turn all that shit off anyway.
Yeah, mine doesn't even have that on.
If you send me a DM on Twitter, then it'll buzz.
I have
if you
very,
send me a
very
text
few
message,
things.
it
Very,
buzzes.
very few things that push through it.
This is a test of willpower
I have a lot of willpower.
at the restaurant table.
Let's go to lunch after this.
I brought lunch today. I'm all right.
You want to give this a try at lunch?
Yeah.
I brought
let's
lunch.
dance.
I can't do this. I brought lunch.
See,
Coward. Coward.
what did you bring?
I brought steak and asparagus, bacon wrapped
It'll
asparagus.
be fine tomorrow.
Yeah, have it tomorrow.
It'll hold.
Or have it for dinner.
No.
Yeah.
It's not very social of you.
Halo
The,
4.
the yoga.
Oh,
I'll finish
okay.
talking about the yoga.
Oh.
Real laptop.
It's good, right?
The only problem I have with storage right now, 128 gigs. It's not seem to be
It's
enough.
an SSD, right?
It's an SSD.
Yeah.
And 120 gigs, only 100 recognized in the partition, and part of that used by Windows.
So it has probably a 10 gig recovery partition and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah.
Performance seems good.
Performance is great. I don't play games on it. I loaded up TF2 and barely playable
Yeah.
because it's.
I mean,
I mean, they're not games machines, are they?
Well, like
it doesn't get hot though.
So like I use that slower speed. I like things like that slower speed of light game, the MIT thing that was released yesterday, work on Ultrabooks generally. If you get much fat, like a Torchlight 1, you can play in netbook mode, and that's great. Stuff like that is good.
And here's something. I mean, the new MacBook Pro with Retina has Intel 4000 graphics. It's the first MacBook Pro with no discrete graphics and recent memory. But it is a bet on Intel because Intel says Haswell is going to have real graphics on their thin and lights.
Well, they're reaching a point where where good enough graphics actually are good enough, which is something that hasn't happened before.
For like World of Warcraft and StarCraft maybe, but you're not going to play Crysis. Or you're need some things you're going to need discrete
Nobody's
graphics.
playing Crysis anymore.
And the rumor that Apple is going to move away from Intel and break apart, I think. I could not see that happening. I mean, I could see it happening, but I would not like to see that happen.
Apple building a new semiconductor, a new CPU architecture from scratch is a crazy, crazy idea.
For desktop.
Yeah, Intel and ARM and AMD have spent literally billions upon billions of dollars over the last 15 years developing these architectures. It is not something you can do from a standing start without licensing a whole bunch of technology.
Yeah.
And it is a multiple years project.
I do not see macOS going to ARM.
It's much more likely that they would go to ARM, and I think you're right. I think that's not going to happen.
And macOS, when are we going to get touch on macOS?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, I don't think Apple is looking at Windows 8 and going, shit, we got to copy all this stuff.
Touch on desktop or touch on laptops makes sense.
I think that they look at this enormous ass Surface touchpad, a touchpad on the front of the laptop and say, yeah, we got touch.
Yeah, they would tell you they've already got touch.
We've been doing this for a long time. Can we talk about Halo 4? Or do you want to talk about scales? Or is there anything else we want to talk about? Have you played Halo 4?
Yeah.
Have you played Halo 4?
I've been playing it since last
I've
week.
watched my housemate play Halo 4.
I'm special.
Yeah, look at me.
I didn't call Frank and be like, hey.
It is a good looking game.
It doesn't look like Halo.
It's getting great reviews. I think it probably is the best Halo game at this point. And what I liked about it, because I like story and narrative. I mean, the Halo games have always had, I think, a decent amount of that. But this one feels like more cinematic and more story-driven than the others.
Well, so the first one had a really kind of cool, hard sci-fi exploration hook, right? Like the whole idea of the orbital halo is a classic hard sci-fi.
It's all very
trope.
Larry Niven and
Yeah, I think it's quite good. I just played the first chapter of the single player. I played some multiplayer with some friends last night, and
I'm scared to play multiplayer.
We just play.
Frank keeps
we
telling
play
me
inside
that the game's
circle
really
of
good
friends.
now at putting you in.
No. You get like 6 people. I'll invite you next time we play.
Yeah, let me know when you're going to play next time, and I'll jump on. Because if I'm going to play, I need to play with like friendly people.
Yeah. So we just play. We don't go out into the wide world.
Yeah,
with real people.
I'm not.
That's scary.
I don't want to be caught. I don't want to get teabagged.
Language, please, Gary.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm gonna have to bleep you.
No, but that's
I understand.
what. So I can say fuck and shit, but I can't say that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Really?
Them's the rules, man.
Oh,
Truck.
I didn't know
Yeah, truck.
that. Okay.
Truck. Yeah, I have no interest in
Yeah, that whole world, the multiplayer world, terrifies me. Halo, Call of Duty, and all those places. I'm just not very good at those games.
Yeah, there's a time when Norm and I played a lot of Call of Duty on PC.
I played a
Duty
lot
4.
of. I have to admit, I really enjoyed playing Nuketown on Black Ops. That was cool.
I just like playing the thing we played. I like playing multiplayer shooters. I'm just not very good
Gears
at them
of War,
anymore.
Mass Effect. We were good at those, but I like
Yeah.
that. I like
You like horde mode.
I like cooperative.
Well, there's the Spartan Ops stuff is supposed to be like that in Halo. I haven't played any of that.
We
stuff
should
yet.
try that, 'cause
It
it's
spoils the story apparently. So
Okay, so I'll finish the campaign because I haven't finished the campaign yet. We'll finish that and then I'll play Spartan Ops.
yeah, I don't know. The first mission was pretty good. I'll
Yeah, it's
play
great.
more.
I'm really enjoying it so far.
I had
I'm trying to balance that with Need for Speed Most Wanted, which I really hate the single player because the rubber banding in it is the worst I've ever seen.
See, I
It
didn't
totally
buy that
ruins the game for me.
because you said that.
Awful, but it's worth it for multiplayer.
Does it disappoint you that we won't get a Halo with the new next gen console launch?
No. I
that'll
think
be
they'll
all right.
just. I think that we're going to see a lot of upscaled versions of this year's games on next year's
Oh,
console
you mean so it
launch.
doesn't render at 720?
I think
it actually renders at 1080?
Assassin's Creed 3 will launch with the new consoles with higher resolution assets.
I'll wait till next gen console comes out and you get Halo with actual 90 FOV as opposed to 80, and
And not rendering at 540p. Yeah,
I think we'll start seeing that stuff for real next year. E3
seems like it. What else have we been testing? Weight check-in. I was at 117 last time I weighed.
That's lower than me.
117.
217. Sorry.
217.
I've lost it turns out bad things. We bought the normal amount of candy this year, and for the second year running, we had like 4 trick-or-treaters. So next year, I'm not getting candy. I'm getting one little bag of candy, and I'm going to give.
Yeah, we never get trick-or-treaters, and if we did, I'd just tell them to fuck off. So I just eat all the candy myself.
Yeah. See, well, if we did. So hold on. Just to be clear, a 3-year-old kid comes up to the door dressed up as Spider-Man, and you're like, fuck off, I don't have any
There's
candy.
the most adorable kid who trick-or-treated in my house, and I told them they could have as much candy as they want from my big
course-
bowl.
of course,
and pick any candy they
I would
want.
give them
and I
all
help them
candy.
choose the good ones.
Hold on, do you let them pick the candy out?
The trick is to have
I
so
said,
much
hey-
candy that even if you have a really busy year, there's still plenty left over for you.
No, that's
Yeah.
bad. That's bad.
I find it warming when at the end of the night, I have a big bowl and all that's left is the crappy candy because that means the kids got all the
get
good
trick or treaters in your neighborhood?
I got 4 this year, and I
Okay.
told the little girl the last one because it was like late, and I said, "Oh, just take the Reese's Pieces; they're the best." And I gave her 3 of them.
Wow.
like little fun
pretty
size
fun
bags.
bags,
yeah.
yeah, no, 2-pound super bags.
So what do you just get like one of those big variety sacks?
Yeah.
Variety sacks
Okay.
suck because
Well,
it's
no, they-
all Whoppers.
You never
hate
get like
There's so
all
many
four-
different
it's never-
kinds.
you can never find a bag that's got like all the things that you like.
Yeah.
We got the perfect variety bag almost this year.
Go on then.
Twix,
That's good.
peanut butter M&Ms.
That's good.
good.
Those are awesome.
Although in the pantheon of peanut butter candy, I would put those near the.
Well,
not in the
pantheon
top.
But in the
M&Ms.
pantheon, no, not peanut M&Ms, peanut butter
No,
M&Ms.
So,
I'm saying, as peanut butter candies go, I don't like those very much.
But as M&Ms go, they're at the top of the list for me.
So the M&M's tier goes like this: the plain milk chocolate ones are on the bottom.
I like the plain milk
yes,
chocolate
correct.
ones.
Brown bag, there. Shit
Racist.
bag.
So racist.
The peanut butter ones I would put above those,
I agree.
and then you go
Peanuts.
peanut, almond, pretzel is the king of the
Pretzel is the king. The blue
Pretzel.
bag.
I would
Blue
see. I would
bag
go pretzel,
indicates-
peanut butter,
pretzel
peanut.
M&Ms are fucking great.
pretty
I
good.
would make the argument that any candy that comes in a blue packaging is the premier candy.
Almond Joy is the wrong.
I don't
that's
like
that's
that.
white. That's white packaging.
It's blue with.
Are we
white
missing
stripe.
any M&Ms? I
Most
think we did them all,
primarily
right?
No, they have a whole bunch of other ones. They have like mint and raspberry.
Yeah, they
and
always do like special crazy
crazy
edition, but of
stuff.
the core brands,
I don't think peanut butter or pretzels.
the
count
almond
as
ones are
core
good. Have you seen
brand.
an almond,
Here's the problem
an
with-
almond M&M is massive. Have you seen? They're huge. 'cause
Yeah,
almonds
I
are
don't
big.
really like almonds that much. is the
Peanut butter
problem.
M&Ms are not as great because Reese's Pieces destroy them.
That's basically all they are.
Yeah, I would much rather have Reese's Pieces than pretty much anything else.
Reese's Pieces is the perfect balance.
Gina bought the wrong Reese's cups this year. She
But
bought the
again,
big
though, if I'm
ones
going to
instead
eat
of the,
in the pantheon of Reese's products, I'd put Reese's Pieces at the bottom. There's so many other Reese's things.
the
I prefer.
mid-size Reese cup is the individually wrapped in foil one.
You
is
mean
the
because
pinnacle.
they have more
I
chocolate
found,
than peanut.
I found
You don't
chips-
the
feel gross.
ratio is better.
I found Chips Ahoy that had Reese's cups baked
that
into them.
sounds terrible.
That's great.
Chips Ahoy are too crunchy.
And I tried peanut butter Oreos recently. Didn't really like those either.
I can't see how that would be good.
No, they weren't as good as you might
No.
hope they might be.
No.
But no, I think I'm glad that when there's not like you can imagine that ranking the M&Ms would be something that like you could really fall out over. But it seems like we're pretty much in agreement.
Why do you not have whatchamacallits in the Halloween size? That's what I want to know.
I don't even know what they are.
Whatchamacallits like a crunchy. It's got like rice, like crispy rice and
that sounds pretty good.
caramel.
I like
and
Bunch of Crunch.
Crunch? Nestle's
No,
Crunch?
no, it's like in a bar form though.
So like a Crunch bar.
Kind of like a crunch bar, but not. The rice isn't embedded. It's like separate layers. It's like a Snickers where there's like a layer of crunch and then there's some caramel and then there's a little bit of peanut
I'm
butter.
just
on
saying,
top
like
of
when
that.
you go to Target or whatever and you see those big sacks,
Yeah.
they always have like they're made up like 4 different things, and there's always 3 things that you like and 1 thing that you're like, oh, that's. I
so
guess
they
so
do
this
that?
year,
Whatever.
this
Can't they just
year,
ramp up production and just
well,
have the awesome bag?
the executive in charge of fucking
they're never
going
going
to
to give you the one bag that has
that.
everything you want in it.
I want the awesome bag.
Those peanut butter Snickers are pretty good.
Yeah, the squares.
Yeah.
Peanut butter squared.
Yeah.
Peanut
So
butter Twix is good too.
I like peanut butter Twix. Used to be like not the second class citizen of Twix. It used to be that you could get 2 kinds of Twix everywhere, and now peanut butter Twix is all but gone.
Right.
Like the full size frosted
I
mini
think in overall, Twix is about as good as it gets. Just overall,
Twix is the best candy
Twix
bar.
is fantastic.
for your mainstream shit you can get at the grocery store checkout aisle. Completely agree.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Although I do like a good Reese cup, like the mid size one.
Yeah, I
They
don't
don't have
like
those
the
at grocery
king size
store.
ones are good on paper, but the ratio
Too much peanut butter.
Yeah, not enough chocolate.
You want to have a nice thick shell of chocolate around that peanut butter.
And I did discover because I recently discovered that I like peanut butter flavored candy, which is not a good thing to discover at age 40.
No, no.
But Butterfinger. That's what
See, I don't like Butterfinger. It gets
You
too
love
stuck in
that
your teeth.
Butterfinger pumpkin that I gave you.
That was pretty good. But that wasn't like a Butterfinger. The Butterfinger with like the peanut butter toffee stuff.
Yeah.
It gets all jammed up into your teeth
Oh, no, I
holes.
like it.
Oh, I mean, I like the taste, but the aftermath.
But I think you're right
is
that
grim.
just a peanut butter cup
Yeah.
is the way to go.
It's the future
classic,
of candy.
Classic.
Do
you like PB&J?
I do, but I like to put apples and bananas on them.
Fuck off.
No,
What?
no apples.
I like peanut butter and banana. I like peanut butter and apple.
Yep.
Isn't that what Elvis had?
No, he did fried peanut butter, PB and banana.
Right.
I don't
You
fry
don't
it.
fry it? You don't
I have
take it to
not.
the next
I have
level?
yet to fry. I think I've reached a point in my life where frying sandwiches of that nature would be really damaging for me.
Certainly wouldn't help with the weight loss.
No.
With PB&J, do you use what type of peanut butter do you use? Creamy peanut butter or with chunks?
I haven't
of
made
nuts?
one for myself yet, but like realizing I never liked peanut butter. But discovering that I like peanut butter candy, I thought, well, I'll take the next step. And I was on a Virgin America flight, and on their little in-flight menu, they had a half peanut butter and jelly sandwich as a snack option. I thought, I'll try it. And I really liked it.
It depends on it depends on the bread and the type of peanut butter you use.
Special-
and I guess jelly.
So I like a whole wheat bread with some like nuts or something in it.
No,
a little
no,
protein.
White bread.
There's a place here in San Francisco that makes these epic PB&Js
Yeah.
that are on like cinnamon swirl bread.
Yeah.
And they also put real strawberries in there.
So Specialties makes a pretty good PB and J too. If you ever have a chance to get that, it has like Granny Smith apples, so a little tart,
No.
a little bit of cranberry sauce, bananas, and peanut butter, and it all like it's a flavor sensation. It's delicious. Yeah, so the scales are still going. Withings released a new scale last week. It doesn't do the body fat measurement. We have one coming. So
How does the body fat measurement work?
they send electrical pulses up through your feet, and they use the speed or timing or something like that to
you
determine
gotta
your
not wear
overall
socks.
resistance.
Not
I
wear-
weigh in nude, Norm.
And the podcast is done.
It's been a great show this week, guys. We'll see you all. Well, you don't want to get extra weight from the clothes, and you don't want to have to wear the same clothes when you weigh. So the easy solution, it's just science. You guys are prudes. I'm playing the music, and then we're going to take some questions, unless we have anything to talk about in what we're testing. Gary, anything else?
I don't think I'm testing anything else.
I used your Mr. Lid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
You
so
left one
you
here.
tested the Mr. Lids.
Yeah, I used it to carry home some stuff that I 3D printed, so I felt like it was a real slap in the face to Gary Whitta. Let's take a couple questions and call it a show.
Emails?
Well, but we do the other one.
Emails.
'Cause it's, we don't do emails. We do
Emails?
No.
Questions?
Boom. If you have a question for This Is Only a Test, the email address is podcast@tested.com. Keep it short, audio questions preferred, under 45 seconds, and make sure you don't sound like you're recording on a bus. Here is our first question, and it's from Munich.
Hello, Tested Crew. My name is Nicholas, and I'm from Munich in Germany. As for hometown trivia, just ask Gary. He'll tell you about the Oktoberfest. I've got a question. Actually, it's more like an idea. I wanted to run by somebody from the tech world. Everybody I've talked to over here thinks I'm crazy, so I figured Tested might be a perfect fit. You remember the Lycra camera with light field technology? I have never used one, but I had this idea that if you develop that thing into something not only shooting still photos but also clips, it could be very interesting. So, if you were to film a clip with two Lycras side by side for a 3D effect, you would then get a clip with no focus in it. If you combine that with something like the Oculus Rift or a Zeiss Cinemizer, added some kind of sensor that measures which part of the picture your eyes are trying to focus on, wouldn't you then have a 3D viewing experience without all the forced perspective and fake 3D layers? Of course, you would need a very snappy computer behind it to power it, but it would allow us to focus on exactly that part of the scene that we want to look at, even if it's in the background. What do you think? I guess I lost you there. Well, whatever. Here's a German Would You Rather. It's very German in the way it combines a fun game with a moral choice. Would you rather for the rest of your life be going to chain restaurants you like so much like Pinkberry? Or would you rather be able to only go to small independent restaurants whose quality of course may be different every time around? So thanks for all the fun times. I've got 2 kids and all this father talk is making me think of getting one more. So just hang in there, Gary. All the best from Munich.
I was kind of relieved in the end, but as soon as he said, "Here is a German, would you rather?" I was
I
terrified.
was a little scared. Yeah, I'll be honest.
But it ended up being quite pleasant.
I would go for small shops.
I would
Small
go
shops forever.
I would go the other way. Whichever one had Pinkberry on it. When you,
No.
And he clearly
I
said
think,
that.
I think with enough small shops, you would find one that could replicate the Pinkberry experience.
Variety is the spice of life. We're not living in a Demolition Man world where everything's Walmart and Taco Bell.
But we are.
You would be.
Oh, wait, but we are. To answer his first question, yes, that a stereoscopic litro system could work, but the big thing is recognizing where your pupils are looking and also the focus of your pupils. So it would need a way to, like I said, the
They'd have to shoot
dialysis.
lasers into your eyeballs to measure the where the retina focuses. I think. I don't know.
Uh,
That's a
the
hard
dilating
problem.
of your pupils, and also not just the focus. And also, those literal cameras, the resolution isn't that great, and the amount of out of focus, they over exaggerate it. So
They ham it up. Is what you're saying.
Everything would just look kind of blurry.
I think the easier thing to do is just use two cameras that have the aperture closed so the depth of field is real wide, and then you just don't have depth of field. Like the easier thing to do is just shoot so that there's no depth of
Aperture
field.
real small.
Yeah, aperture real small. Sorry. We have one more question if you guys want to take that. I can't imagine eating chain restaurants for the rest of my life. That would be horrible.
Hello, Tested. I'm in the process of building a new arcade cabinet, and I am torn between using real arcade hardware or setting it up as a MAME/Steam box. What opinion do you have on authenticity versus versatility for an arcade cabinet? And would you rather have perfect pitch for music, baseball, or business? Thank
Baseball.
you for your time.
Oh, that's a great would you rather. That's a
Baseball.
very businessy question. Business.
Baseball.
I already have perfect pitch for music, so
Really?
yeah,
Really?
Wait, hold on.
I can listen to.
I don't know what that means, but if that means that in baseball I can pitch a perfect game every time, I'll go to the major leagues and just
Yeah,
and
you'd
be
be-
the highest paid baseball player in history.
You'd be the opposite of that movie, the kid who had the weird arm break and could throw the baseball
Rookie
really
of the
fast.
year.
Rookie of the year. You'd be like the old rookie of the year.
Yeah, I'd be like Dennis
You mean
Quaid.
the rookie?
Yeah.
But-
Yeah,
but-
you would be
Except
the
a good
that's exactly
pitcher.
it.
Except a good pitcher.
Wow.
But pitching a perfect game every time.
Yeah, I would do
If you
that.
could pitch a perfect game every time in baseball,
That you'd get-
they would have to shut the sport down.
That would be it.
I mean, it would be pointless. Your team would win every
but
year.
here's the thing.
No.
You
the
can pitch
problem
perfectly.
Is that you can only you could pitch? Yeah, that's
But it doesn't mean people are going to not hit you.
correct. And also, yeah, it doesn't mean you'll pitch a perfect game. It just means that you just wherever you want to throw
Is where it goes.
is where it goes, and the speed and the
Right.
But then
And
hitters
so-
can still hit you based on your psychology.
Yeah, so then it becomes about the catcher calling
But
the
I
right
think,
pitches.
but I think that's still good enough that you would be extremely successful.
And you're only going to
pitcher.
pitch once every 4 or 5 games.
well, if you're a perfect pitcher, maybe you don't have to take a break. Maybe you can just
No,
throw
no.
thousands of pitches a week. Your robo pitch.
There was a comic book miniseries about Bullseye where he took one summer to be a baseball pitcher.
What's Bullseye's superpower?
He has perfect aim.
He can hit anything.
Yeah.
Like thrown,
yes.
Yeah.
shot,
Yep. Yep.
like a trebuchet.
Yes. He had the perfect pitch, and
Wow.
but his evil he ruined it.
He just
Intentionally
kept trying to
through
beat
games.
people
Yeah, he killed people.
with the baseball.
Yep.
That's grim. What was the actual question?
The actual,
Oh, the arcade cabinet question.
I'd say don't go for authenticity and go for versatility.
Well, here's the thing. So you can do really horrible things with MAME cabinets. Like if you want to go, like there's a website that has a whole pages and pages of them. I think it's called like MAME Travesties or something like that. Pick a dozen games that you want to play that use similar control schemes and build a cabinet to do that. Do not build a cabinet that you can play Tempest and Discs of Tron and Pole Position and Miss Pac-Man and
It'd be the Homer.
you do not make the Homer of MAME cabinets.
But in terms of software, the emulation is good enough now. And I think more importantly is the screen you choose for your MAME
Yeah.
cabinet, and as opposed to using LCD and using fake.
The LCD and fake stuff looks pretty good.
I'm not a big fan of. I think I understand the appeal, but like one of the things that I've learned from like going to PAX and playing the retro games,
The real
there,
games.
is that there's no substitute for the real hardware. Something is lost in translation when you do emulation, even if you build a really good cabinet. Like, obviously, this is not feasible, but if I had unlimited resources, I'd rather just have like a garage filled with classic arcade games, the original ones, because you put a bunch of things into.
Go to California Extreme. Go. I
Yeah,
want to
plenty of
buy.
people do that.
California
You can make this
Extreme.
happen.
You can do that. You can have a garage or a basement or whatever, and you can put a bunch of cabinets in there. I would rather do that than pack a bunch of things into a fake cabinet, because something just doesn't come across. I know that it's emulated. I know it's not real.
So the thing I'll say is if you get the real monitor and you're playing, especially era of games matter. So if you're playing like late models fighting games like Street Fighter 4 and stuff like that, then yeah, maybe you can. It's a little different situation. If you're into playing vertical arcade games from the early 80s like Frogger and Donkey Kong and Galaga and stuff like that,
Right.
and Pac-Man,
Right.
you can make an incredibly convincing experience if you buy a tube monitor. I mean, there's not that many of them anymore. They get more expensive every year because they stop making them.
That's what you need, because it's something about the curvature of the screen. It's you know, all those little details play into the nostalgia.
That becomes I'm sure that somebody out there who is the world's greatest Galaga player can tell the difference immediately between a MAME Galaga and a Galaga board.
I could tell you, and I'm not even good at Galaga.
You think?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Wait, I mean, if you the cabinet.
No, I'm talking about when you're sitting down in front of the game, you have the controls set up in the appropriate places.
Like, you know,
I don't think you can tell the
Secret
difference.
Pizza place.
Yeah.
I could probably tell you if it was
That's a MAME cabinet.
I could probably tell if it was the original hardware versus something that had been built to look like it.
Anyway, my point is the games play exactly the same, better than those remakes, and I feel like it's a pretty honest emulation experience, especially for the older stuff. There's a bunch of weird later games that don't work quite as well. There's anything that uses a custom control scheme like 720 is never going to be right because that controller is really hard to get. The one with the spinny outside, it's like a trackball with a stick in it, basically. Even the trackball games like Centipede and Millipede and Golden Tee and that kind of stuff, I think don't do as well. But if you're talking about a 4 or 8-way joystick and buttons, that is something that is really easy to do. And pick, like I said, a dozen of those games, design your control scheme to do that, and be comfortable knowing you're never going to play hard driving or pole position or whatever.
Why would you want to play hard driving? Oh my god!
I loved hard driving.
Miserable experience that was.
It was a money-eating machine. Free hard driving would probably be not very satisfying.
Yeah.
Also, if you think you want to build a machine to play like the old beat 'em ups, like the Simpsons game and the X-Men game and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, go spend $10 on those machines on Xbox Live Arcade, on those games on Xbox Live Arcade, and remember that game rather than remembering the experience that you had, because they don't hold.
They don't.
They do not.
Sometimes nostalgia is best left alone.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to if you want an arcade cabinet, the things I would do are fighting games, stuff like NFL Blitz or NBA Jams, classic vertical arcade games like Donkey Kong, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, and that stuff. There's a lot of really gnarly games from the mid 80s that just they're not worth having in your house.
Right.
So I guess that'll do it for us this week. For Norman Chan, Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta, news on Walking Dead front. We're coming up on episode 5, I hope.
Yeah,
right?
and in fact, so there is a bunch of news on the Walking Dead front. So episode 4, the one that I wrote, came out today for iOS.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. So you can go get that. Very excited.
How does that work on iOS? Is it like in-app purchase for the
so you buy the app, and then you can either buy the season pass for all the episodes, and you get them as they get pushed to you as they come out, or you can go buy the episodes a la carte for I think for like $5 each. But you have to buy like the main app first. And
yeah.
All the other apps,
and they're $5. Each episodes are $5.
Yeah, although I don't know if it's closed now, but you could have bought the whole season for like $15 when it first came out.
That's a good
I'm not
deal.
sure if they still do that. But it's it's great because unlike the iOS versions of like many other games, which they've had to rebuild it and do a different kind of version, it's the same game, just with a touch interface. And then episode 5 is coming out very soon. I played it yesterday.
Ooh.
And
is that when you posted that tweet that said some games just leave you wrung out at the end?
Yeah, I think some games you beat, other games you finish and realize the game actually beat you. And
you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a fucking monster.
It's I can't say anything about it, but yeah.
So soon,
and that's coming out soon, and then shortly after that, the retail edition.
So if you've been holding off or you want to play it on your Xbox and not do downloads, you can just go to the store and buy a disc.
You can do that
basically.
too. Yeah, you can wait a few extra weeks, and I think December 4th or whenever, somewhere before the holidays, the retail box will be out with all 5 episodes. It's only $30.
Yeah, and it's
only $5 more than you would have paid for the whole thing.
Excellent.
If you're downloading them $5 a time.
Excellent. Norman Chan, anything to plug?
Nope. Test.com. Check it out next week.
We got more stuff. We didn't talk about the liquid nitrogen experiments at all. We smashed stuff with liquid nitrogen, and we froze it with liquid nitrogen and smashed it with a hammer.
Yeah, and those slow-mo videos you slapping each other in the face are really popular as well.
Yeah, people like to watch me suffer. I don't know why.
They're going to like the next one. They're going to really like
you got more of those still coming? All right.
Which is the next? Oh, yeah, they are going to like the next one. It's real dumb. Real dumb. We'll be back with more. This is only test next week. Until then, this outro is brought to you by BuzzClick. And I do not believe that we actually said this, but he claims it is 100% true. Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested.
Oh, your finger.
Oh, yeah, get that meat out of the hole.
I mean, you must have said it right. I mean,
It was
those are
in
your
a liquid
voices.
nitrogen video, the spam.
Oh, that's right. The meat hole.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well done.
I forgot to talk about this thing. It's dumb. I kind of like it, but it's dumb.
It's a phone case and a wallet.
It's a phone wallet
Now,
case.
Gina thinks it's dumb as well, right?
Gina is profoundly opposed to this.
I think it's dumb. I think it looks really ugly.
I
it's not
kind of like.
attractive.
I like the idea that everything fits into one little thing, and my
your
wallet.
phone's gonna drop out of that, and then you're gonna be really sad.
No, because this still lives in my pocket.
Right, but then it's a very loose grip. So if you're holding, yeah, there you go. That's good.
Yeah,
That's what's gonna happen.
That's the shirt pocket hold waiting to happen.
yeah.
Yeah, but it goes in my jeans pocket.
Right, and as
So
you
it's-
take it out, and you're fumbling with just the exterior. The
No, I
case.
just take the phone out of the case and leave the case in my pocket. Most of the time, I guess your point breaks down when I take it out of my wallet when I take it out to get like a card out or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
So we went to Denny's looking for the Hobbit breakfast, right? And they
It
didn't
was a
have
nice
it.
breakfast though.
Yeah, it's fine, perfectly fine. They had like some kind of banana festival going on instead, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed the banana.
Go
pancakes.
Bananas, I believe is what it was
Yeah,
called.
go bananas. But we are going to go back for the Hobbit breakfast. I want the Shire sausage.
Yeah.
And the Radagast's red velvet pancakes.
Second breakfast.
Who's
Tom-
Radagast? I don't remember Radagast.
Radagast, the brown, isn't that? He's a.
Oh, he's the other wizard.
He's the other. He's like all about Earth and nature and animals.
Because theoretically, there's supposed to be a wizard for each color, right?
I guess.
And then, yeah, the white wizard is the leader of them all, which seems, he's a little off when I think about it now.
The Grand Wizard.
Yeah. So when we were watching Hub the other day, an episode of Friends came on, and it was the one where Ross and Chandler go meet their old party wizard, Gandalf.
Oh yeah, and he's not what they thought. Oh no, he never shows up. But then they realize that they don't want to be the party people anymore.
But so much of the humor in that joke is based around nerds knowing who Gandalf is and no one else.
Right.
And that doesn't fly at all anymore because of the Lord of the Rings movies.
it's true.
Super dated
times
humor.
move on.
Yeah.
Times move on.
Nerds have won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, Nate Silver is now like king of. He's like the Gandalf.
King of the
he's like
quants.
real life Gandalf.
Yeah. I still hate Ross.
Okay.
Terrible character.
Oh, and speaking of breakfast, I do have to take you to this breakfast place I discovered that had the best bacon I've ever had in my life.
I saw a picture of that.
It's
Where
called,
was it?
it's called Millionaire's Bacon.
I like Millionaire's bacon. I'm not.
You would
hold
love-
on. How much
you would
is this?
love
Is this like Mitt Romney bacon? Can I afford this?
It's $5,
Okay.
I like
so
that.
you can afford it.
Okay.
And it's cooked in some kind of like brown sugar sauce, but it's spicy at the back end. Like it's sweet at first and spicy later. And
Oh, I
it's
like
so-
sweet and
Where-
spicy
where
and
is
salty.
this?
I cannot reveal that
Damn.
Is it salty?
because I want to keep it secret.
Is it like cured bacon as well? Is it salt? Is it sweet and salty and then spicy?
We had I had the
need to go to another room.
Dungeness crab omelet.
Yeah.
Leah had the pancakes, and we got a side of Millionaire bacon, and it was one of the best breakfasts I've had in a very long time.
Let's go this Sunday.
And it's right across the street from an Apple
No, you
store.
can't go on Sunday. I have other things to do on Sunday. Oh, I know where it is.
Maybe you do.
I do know where it is now.
Okay.
There are only like 4 Apple stores in the city.
No, it's
Only
not-
one of them is a hipster enough location.
Who
that
said it
would-
was in the city?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I know. It's not. Where can I get Millionaire bacon? That is amazing.
I know it's so much better than Siri, isn't it? I got to break up with Siri. I really do. I got to tell. her.
Yep. Okay.
Did it give you an answer?
It gave me an answer.
Holy
Food
crap.
spotting brought it home.
Oh
No,
my God.
really?
Yeah, I'm
Where can I get Millionaire's bacon?
swipe right.
That didn't. Did it really work?
Yeah.
No, that's not it.
What?
It's not in
That's
the
that's another place that has Millionaire's bacon, I
Oh.
guess, but that's not the one I'm talking about.
terrible.
Yeah, so we'll go. We have to make a choice. We can either go there or we can go get Hobbit breakfast.
I feel like Hobbit breakfast. I think we should get on that
But
now
this
because
is
the
exactly
Millionaire's
but this
bacon
is
will
exactly
always be there.
This is exactly the German would you rather that we just had.
I know, but I
And
feel
you're
like
betraying your own
Oh man,
vote.
Millionaire's bacon it is.
But you're right. Hobbit breakfast is only for a limited time.
Right, and I feel like that's potential topic material for the show.
I do want Radagast
versus
red velvet
Millionaire's
pancakes.
Right. I mean, who knows? Those may be gone by the next time. It could be like the McRib.
All right, maybe we should do that.
if you miss it, it'll be gone.
yeah, maybe we should do that first.
I ordered our turkey for Thanksgiving.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we have turkey coming.
I'm excited for. I like Thanksgiving. This is my favorite time of the year.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, pretty consistently.
Christmas is mine, but Thanksgiving is kind of second because it's the lead up. It's the kind of the Christmas technically begins at the end of Thanksgiving, which is great. I love it.
When I got old enough that I just started buying shit when I wanted it instead of waiting for it for gifts, then Christmas lost a lot of its magic. Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
on the other hand, is
But
an
this is
opportunity
why
to
having
gorge
a kid.
yourself
But this
and
is why
eat
having a
awesome
kid
food.
is going to be so great, is because you get to do
Oh,
it all over
that's
again.
awesome stuff. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, that's number one reason.
Oh, Do you have to buy a Christmas present for the kid when the kid's not born yet?
You can, I guess.
Is that weird?
I mean, it's obviously, we're having our first Christmas with the baby, and we're like, she's not old enough to understand what's going on, but we'll probably still buy her something just for fun. Same way you buy a present for the dog. It's like, it's more.
Do you buy presents for Huey?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do we. What about the cat? Does the cat get presents?
No.
Does Huey like to open presents?
Well, like we make a show, like a big scene of like giving him the bone or whatever that he's getting.
Oh,
he's
see-
happy to get it. He's got no idea why he's getting it. He's like, fuck it, bone.
Oh, no. See, we wrap stuff up. Well, we've only had one Christmas with
Oh, like, you
Chloe
don't make
because we
Chloe,
usually
like,
go
unwrap
east.
the shit?
Well, we usually go east, and we only flew with her once because that was a
God,
nightmare.
I can't even imagine.
Oh, it was such a bad idea. Like if you can bring the dog onto the plane, it's one thing. That's totally cool. But if you have to put the dog in the checked baggage, it's not good.
Oh,
The
God.
dog?
But it just sucks for everyone involved. You're all antsy because Gina's trying to stand
Wait, so the dog
window-
actually is in like the fucking cargo hole?
in the baggage compartment. Yeah, it's pressurized and everything.
Terrible.
No, the dog just trust me. The dog doesn't give a shit. The dog gets in the airplane sounds start. Dog is completely asleep. We heard her bark for maybe 20 seconds at the start of the flight.
From through the cargo hold?
Well, it was directly underneath you.
Wow, she's loud.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that.
Have
at
you
all.
seen the dog?
I heard the dog.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, flying with the dog was so bad that we almost just decided on the way back to rent a car and drive back with the dog rather than fly for 5
I thought
hours.
you just
again.
leave the dog there.
Well, I mean, maybe now. So this is our second Christmas with Chloe, but we traditionally wrap up presents and then she unwraps them because she likes tearing shit apart. It's really fun. Fun for everyone. I'll post video of it this year.
All right.
Anything else? Lunch?
Yeah.
I want lunch.
I want lunch. I love lunch. Is this a show? Are we calling it?
Yeah.
I'm calling it.
2.5 hours.
Okay,
Go.
see you guys later next week.